Shalom, Israel. Shalom, shalom. Brother Naquam, watchman for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another Monday Night Fire, giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Mashiach Malak Yabushai. A hearty, mighty shalom to all of the mighty men of the Most High God who are out there on the highways and byways, pushing this truth, magnifying the ministry, and presenting their body as a living sacrifice. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, they're fasting, they're studying, they're being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to all of the Aquath out there, the sincere sisters out there, holding it down in the household, to reverencing their husbands, being submissive, being diligent, and moving in the spirit of our righteous foremothers. Shalom, shalom. Shalom to everybody tuning in live for the Monday Night Fire. The topic of this live is, we have to go into it, man. We have to talk about the inevitable, right? We have to talk about prophecy, right? We have to talk about the bitter that comes with this truth, man. We have to talk about things that, the Most High has set up from the days of old, right? Now, I want to choose my words wisely on this live, due to Esau and his demonic devices and algorithm and things of that nature. So you see the title, right? Small hats, we'll call them that, right? Amalekites, you understand, whatever name I want to give them through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shai, you know that I'm speaking about the enemy of our righteousness, man, right? So the Amalekite, man, right, will persecute the Hebrew Israelites, right? The Amalekite, man, will persecute the Hebrew Israelites. And the great wake of Israel coming back to Yahweh, Bashmi Abushai, keeping the law, statutes, and the commandments, building up themselves in the faith, restoring back marriages in its righteous estate, raising their children under the order of the law, statutes, and the commandments of the Most High, diving into prophecy, realizing who their enemy is, finding out how we're going to leave this captivity spiritually before we leave physically, and ultimately repenting and putting off the old man and coming out of the world. That's going to come like it has in time past. Right? I want to get this precept in Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and 15. Right? Like it has in time past. That's going to come with persecution. Now, persecution is inevitable, right? And it's happened in time past. If you study history of the Israelites and our captivity, chiefly under the so-called white man, because under the Babylonians, or rather under the Medes and the Persians, they had a tolerant society. We were allowed to freely go back and serve our God. We had to pay tribute to things of that nature, but it was a different level of tolerance. Under the hand of the so-called white man, there's going to come massive persecution. Now, we're allowed through the spirit and power right now, Yahweh Bashim Yabushai, to do the work of the Most High, and do these lives, go out on the highways and byways, teach the people, raise up the dry bones, resurrect the dead. We're able to do that freely now. But those days are going to come shortly to an end, right? It's inevitable. It will happen, right? This is Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and 15. It reads, that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and the Most High requireth that which is past. So the things that have happened in time past, 70 AD, 64 AD, 200 AD, you understand, 285 AD, all the way back from the ancient times of the Maccabees, 175 BC to 164, all of these different time periods, the Most High, he's going to have these events happen all over again. The same spirits of those men who lived on the earth back then, they're on the earth right now. The same apostles, same prophets, same evangelists, same men. Believe it or not, Peter, John, James, Andrew, Timothy, Titus, Barnabas, these men are back on the earth. And these are the righteous men of the Lord, man. Don't you know the wicked men are back on the earth too? Herod, Tiberius, who was the reigning emperor during the time of Mashiach Yahushua, Pontius Pilate, all of these men are on the earth again right now. right? Remember, when you go to the book of Revelation, let's go to Revelation, the 10th chapter, right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 10 and verse, I'm going to start at 9, right? Revelation chapter 10 and 9. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, give me the little book. The little book is this Bible, this word, right? It reads, and he said unto me, take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. Meaning when you first digest this word spiritually, meaning it comes into your mind, there's a sweet spirit behind it, man. A joy, you can understand, a sense of excitement. When you find out that you're the greatest people on earth, that you're above all nations, that the other nations who you thought were superior to you are now inferior to you, destined for perdition and slavery. There's a sense of joy, relief, excitement, a weight off your shoulders. These are spirits that the Most High likens unto honey. Honey is the sweetness of the Bible, the joy thereof of finding out your nationality. So when you hear this word, there's a sense of, like I said, a joy or a happiness that comes with it, and rightfully so, because you're being restored back what was stolen away from you. But it's not going to be joyous forever, right? The feelings of us waking up to the Most High and, you know, cheering on the men of the Lord that are out there on the highways and byways and praising Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai and having joy in the Most High, using these celebrities and athletes and men of the world to help push the truth. That joy is going to dwell on us and dwell in us. But also that joy may not be here forever. With this being said, and what's going on the earth, how they're painting the Hebrew Israelites, and we're going to pull up all the information. All right, we got the articles. We're going to go into time past, see what happened in the history, go into the scriptures, and pull out everything, Lord willing, through the spirit and power of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, so everyone that's in this truth can know what this thing is really about, right? It's not just, and like I said, you know, this is the reality of it, man. This is the raw truth, man. You know, you can't just eat sweets all day, man. Cake and sweet potato pie and damn sugary things, man. You got to eat the bitter herbs, because the bitter herbs, although they may not taste as good, they're good for you. You need it. It keeps your body alive, man. So you need this bitterness of the truth that we're going to bring out, man. You need this, man. We need it because we have to know what the Most High is going to do on the earth, man. If you didn't know, and know what you have essentially signed up for. A lot of brothers don't know what they signed up for, man. A lot of sisters, you may not know the totality of what this thing is really about. And what you see playing out on the earth between the ADL, I think the JDL or the JC community, whatever labels and titles that they have given themselves, right? You may not know the total end of this thing, man. Right? Let me read on. In Revelation chapter 10 and verse 10. It reads, Slakia, I'm going to read that again. And I went unto the angel and said unto him, give me the little book. And he said unto me, take it and eat it up, and it shall make thy belly bitter, but it shall be in thy mouth sweet as honey. And I took the little book out of the angel's hand and ate it up, and it was in my mouth sweet as honey. And as soon as I had eaten it, my belly was bitter. Right? So it went from sweet till bitter. That bitter is the aftertaste when it settles in, right? The aftertaste comes after you eat and it kind of settles in, and your body begins now to recognize what you have put in your system, man. The bitterness is the aftertaste of this truth, man. Yeah, it's joy and excitement temporarily, but then that bitter is going to kick in, man. Now that bitter could be household affairs, and maybe your family is against you and they talking about the so-called holidays, and you're vexed by Thanksgiving and you're vexed by Christmas, and that's light affliction. Maybe it's affliction at your job. Maybe you're being ridiculed. Maybe you're being ostracized. Maybe you have even been fired at your job due to you being in the truth, man. Maybe your woman that you came into this truth with, maybe she separated herself from you, man. Maybe your children have grown to despise you, man. These are the things that come into the truth that the Most High likens unto the bitter taste thereof. Right? Let me read on. Revelation 10 and 10. 10 and 11. And he said unto me, this is what the Lord told John, the revelator, John the apostle, who received the visions on the Isle of Patmos. Now, John, the revelator, He was exiled to the Isle of Patmos, banished by the Roman Empire. That was under the Flavian dynasty. And he was banished due to him doing the work of the Most High. So what do you think is going to happen to the servant of the Lord, man? You know, this is dead serious, man. This truth is dead serious. Yeah, we have our times of mirth and feast days and joy and new moons, and you got the clubhouse and brothers are, you know, they kicking it, they congregating, you getting to know one another through social media and things of that nature. But this is dead serious, man, especially for you men on the forefront on the highways and byways. Listen to what the Most High told John after John got exiled for the Isle of to the Isle of Patmos. Now, Patmos is an island off the coast of Asia Minor. It was a salt mine where the Romans sent prisoners. The damn most what's the word I'm looking for? Most violent, evil. A lot of those men were sent to that Isle of Patmos, and John had to dwell amongst them, huh? Bunch of Israelites out there. That's what John had to deal with for doing the work of the Most High. Now you can say, well, look, I'm not John, I'm not Peter. Well, guess what, man? You are John, you are Peter. You're a disciple of Yahushua. You may not be those men in the flesh, but you have signed up and you have said, I'm going to follow Yahushua. And it's too late to pull out now. Now you got, bro, wow, that's going to come in this. Yes, that's coming. Now you're in too deep. Now you're in this thing, man. And you got to embrace it and love it and understand this is what the Most High expects out of us, man. The Lord expected out of the apostles. Right? Let me read this in Revelation 10 and 11. And he said unto me, thou must prophesy again before many peoples and nations and tongues and kings. So when John was about 96 years old, give or take around that time, the Most High told him, hey, look, you're going to do this all over again. You teaching, you being persecuted, you being banished, you being a public enemy of the Roman Empire, you prophesying before kings. Guess what? It's not over. It's not over, John. You're going to come back and you're going to do it again. That's regeneration in the Bible. Not to get too deep. Because where's the account of John the Revelator going and doing the work? What's the account of John leaving and ducking past the Roman guards and prophesying before Domitian and Titus and these different Edomites, man? The Lord said he's going to prophesy before kings. That's talking about in this life now. These are the things that come with this truth, man. Right? Let's go to the book of Revelation. Actually, let's go to the book of Matthew. Right? We're going to go to the book and we're going to touch on it. Right? Because you have, I want to pull this up. Right? Bear with me. Let me pull this up on the screen. Right? This is what you have going on. Right? I'm sure brothers have seen this, but I want to touch on it. All right? This came out about, what, 3 days ago? 2 days ago? Right? How many Hebrew Israelites are there, and how worried should Jews be? Right? How many Hebrew Israelites are there, and how worried should Jews be? Right? Now, now remember, the Most High said, let me go to the book of Hosea, chapter 1. Right? Let's go to Hosea, the first chapter. This is prophecy. Now, this is a sign of what? We look at this, see the spiritual man, the apostles, the prophets, the teachers, the men of the Lord, and, the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways, even the sisters and wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. We see this, and we see what this has in store for us. Or we see, rather, how should I put it? Salakia. See, that's Satan. When we see things like that, I believe this is what I want. Okay, same thing. Right? When we see things like this, we understand what's to come. I'll rephrase it. We understand what Esau's actually saying. Right? We understand that this is pretty much a leading or stepping stool to persecution. And I'm not talking about just persecution and you know, they found out that you're an Israelite at your job and they let you go. That small level, right? We're not just talking about, you know, you're at the grocery store and they saw you with your fringes on and the cashier turned their light off and said, this lane is closed, right? Or you're at the bank and, you know, you wanted to do a withdrawal and they said, well, look, you know, we're closed. You have to go to the next teller, right? That's minor level persecution, right? This is the real deal, man. Let's go to Hosea chapter 1 and 10, right? And we're going to show you in time past what happened under different Roman emperors, because you're living in modern day Rome all over again. America is just a revived version of the ancient Roman Empire. And if you know, people say he that doesn't study history is bound to repeat it. So if you don't understand how the Israelites were dealt with under the Roman Empire, then you won't understand how they're going to deal with us in this time and in time to come. Just study how the Roman Caesars and those men dealt with the Jews, and even with the word calls Christians, man, which were nothing but Israelites following Christ. See how we were treated under Nero, Domitian, Claudius. See what happened, man. And remember the precept in Ecclesiastes 3:15, when the Most High said he requires that which is past. This is the book of Hosea chapter 1 and 10. It reads, yet the number of the children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And this shall come to pass, that in the place where it was said unto them, ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, ye are the sons of the living God. So the same place where we're called Negroes, niggers, spics, wetbacks, all types of damn porch monkeys, coons, proverbs, and bywords, the same place, chiefly America, this same place we're going to be called the sons of the living God. This is prophecy. Now they're asking, well, how many Hebrew Israelites are there? You're not going to be able, you can't count them. The Lord said, who can number the fourth part of Israel, man? That's in the book of Numbers. Let me get that real quick. Right, let me get that. The Most High said, who can number the fourth part of Israel? Right, bear with me 1 second. Right, let me just pull that up for sake of time. Right, because they're sitting up there trying to perform a census and be the Most High and try to count the children of the Lord, man. Right, that's Numbers chapter 23 and 10. Right, this Numbers chapter 23 and 10. I'm going to start at verse 9, right? Numbers chapter 23 and 9. It reads, this is what Baalam said. Now, Baalam was hired by a Moabite king. The Moabites are the Chinese, if you can understand. The so-called Chinese man. The Moabite man hired an international, world-renowned wizard to curse the children of Israel because he couldn't fight us toe-to-toe. But when you read Numbers 22, 23, and 24, you'll see how the Most High essentially reversed every curse that Baalam was going to put on Israel and turned it to a blessing. Now, here's what the Most High said about Israel, right? Numbers chapter 23 and 10. I'm going to start at 9. From the top of the rocks I see him, and from the hills I behold him. Lo, the people shall dwell alone and shall not be reckoned among the nations. So the Lord said that we're not going to be reckoned amongst the nations, meaning what? You're not going to recognize us as God's chosen people, but they will recognize us as NBA players, comedians, athletes, Christian pastors, drug dealers, gangbangers. They will recognize our women as whores, thoughts, bad bees, but as a nation, the Most High said they shall dwell alone in the ghettos, the slums, the projects, and their own isolated police communities. The people shall dwell alone, and what? It reads, the people shall dwell alone and shall not be reckoned among the nations. So there was a time when we weren't even reckoned amongst the nations. What do you think happens at the United Nations? Everybody's there. The Moabite is there. The Edomite. The Hamites. Hell, even the Japhites are there. The Ishmaelites. We're not reckoned amongst the nations. Verse 10. Numbers 23 and 10. Who can count the dust of Jacob and number of the fourth part of Israel? Let me die the death of the righteous, and let my last end be like his. So the Most High said, you can't even number 25% of us, man. You can't even number the fourth part of Israel, which means you can't number a third, because 1/3 are going to come back to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. If you can't number a fourth, you can't number a third, you can't number half. Only Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua knows how many Hebrew Israelites there are, man. We're as the sand of the sea. Now, what they really mean is how many have found out their nationality. That's what they mean, because they're not talking about because the crack dealer, he's still a Hebrew Israelite, whether he believes it or not. The man robbing your grandmother of their tithes at the Baptist church, he's still a Hebrew Israelite, whether he believes it or acknowledges it or not, man. Right? These NFL players and athletes, they're Hebrew Israelites that are Israelites, whether they believe it or not. So this question is not really saying how many so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American people there are. How many are in the truth? How many have found out their nationality? How many of them have found out their heritage? How many are putting down weed, putting down drugs, getting married in righteousness, not dealing with whores, keeping the commandments, keeping the Sabbath? That's what they're really asking. This is intel. And you know the so-called white man, he deals with intel, spies, agents, false brethren that may be in congregations crept in unawares. So that's what they're asking. How many Hebrew Israelites are there? Right? How many are in the truth? Because when they're in the truth, now it's a threat. You waking up to your nationality is a threat to the system. Let's get that in the book of Ezra. Right? And they got the brothers from IUIC on here when you see it, man. Right? Those brothers was out there marching in front of the Barclays Center and really turning up some heat, right, on Amalek. Now, when you go to the book of Ezra, let's go to the book of Ezra, the 4th chapter, right? Remember, you repenting and you putting off sin is the worst thing that can happen to this system. Not you getting your reparations, not you starting your own new Hebrew Israelite Wall Street, or you getting your own land. The biggest threat, I'm gonna say it again. You could see it in the book of Exodus, the 1st chapter. We may get that too. The biggest threat to the system is you repenting. Repentance is not even picking up physical weapons. It's not you taking up arms. They're not worried about you getting physical. They're worried about you getting spiritual. That's what the so-called white man, the Edomites, the Amalekites are worried about. They're worried about you not getting physical and carnal. They're worried about you getting spiritual. Now, when you go to the book of Ezra, right, let's get this precept real quick. Right, let's go to Ezra, the 4th chapter. Let's go to Ezra chapter 4. We're going to read verse 12, and I'm going to read through 15. Right? This is the book of Ezra chapter 4. Right? And then I want to go into this article. And I got a few more things I want to get into as well. To show you what happened in ancient Rome under Claudius and show you other things that happened to our people in time past so you can understand what's to come on the earth, man. Right? And I want to dice up every little thing in this. Right? This Ezra chapter 4 and verse 12. I'm going to start at 11. It reads, "This is the copy of the letter," this Ezra 4 and 11. "This is the copy of the letter that they sent unto him, even unto Artaxerxes the king. Thy servants, the men of the side, the men on this side the river, and at such a time." I'm gonna actually pull it up so brothers can actually see this. Right, let's go to the book of Ezra. Right? Let's go to Ezra, the 4th chapter. And I'm going to pull that article back up. Right? This is the book of Ezra, chapter 4 and verse 12. Now, here's what the heathen said as we were repenting and coming back to the Most High. Right? It reads, be it known unto the king. Let's see, Salakia. And there's another precept I believe in Nehemiah, where it says that they were worried that there was a man that sought the welfare of the children of Israel. Right? Nehemiah, the 2nd chapter. I'm gonna get that first. Right, let's go to Nehemiah chapter 2. Because remember, Nehemiah was in the Persian captivity. He was the cupbearer, which was a high position in the royal court of the king. And the spirit hopped on Nehemiah, the spirit of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, to actually ask the king to go back and build the walls of Jerusalem. Now, when you read Nehemiah chapter 2 and verse 10, I'm going to start at 9. This is Nehemiah coming back. It reads, then I came to the governors beyond the river and gave them the king's letters. Now the king, right, which was Ahasuerus actually, right? Or Artaxerxes, Salakia, Artaxerxes. This is around 444 BC. Some scholars would say 445 BC, right? This Artaxerxes in his 20th year, if I'm not mistaken, right? So it reads, then I came to the governors beyond the river and gave them the king's letters. Now the king had sent captains of the army and horsemen with me. So he essentially had an escort. Nehemiah had an escort from the land of the Persians all the way back to Jerusalem. Now here's verse 10. When Sanballat the Horonite and Tobiah the servant, the Ammonite, heard of it, it did what? It grieved them exceedingly that there was come a man to seek the welfare of the children of Israel. And that's what we're dealing with, man. When you read the book of Ezra and Nehemiah, Sanballat, Tobiah, right? They represent all of the heathen, right? They literally represent all of the heathen, man. Tobiah the slave and Sanballat the Horonite. They were governors of Samaria, heathen, who, when we came back out of exile and were building the city and building the walls, they were grieved. It says it grieved them exceedingly that there was come a man to seek the welfare of the children of Israel. Which means what? If there's a man trying to destroy the children of Israel, they would be the opposite of grieved, which is what? Excited, relieved, happy, joyous, festive. These nations love when you're killing each other, man. They love when you're selling drugs to each other. They love when the father is doing God knows what, man, and leaves the family, and the mother whores out and does whatever she wants to do to the children. They love that. But the second a so-called black man, Hispanic and Native American man seeks our welfare and one of our own people, it grieves these nations exceedingly. And they begin to post articles. How many Hebrew Israelites are there? They are now a threat. Now they're causing trouble. How do we get rid of them? How do we stop them? We are scared. They're all over the place. Right? Let's go to the book of Ezra. Right? Same thing, man. Same thing from Ezra. Same thing in Nehemiah. Contemporaries. Right? Let's go to the book. Right? This Ezra chapter 4 and verse 12. Here's what the heathen said. Be it known unto the king that the Jews which came up from thee to us are coming to Jerusalem, building the rebellious and the bad city, and have set up the walls thereof and joined the foundation. So you had heathen reporting to the king, Salakia. You had a heathen reporting to the king about what we were doing, about the work that the men of the Lord were putting in. What do you think is happening right now? We started this live with Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and 15. Everything that happened back then is happening now. You coming back to the Most High and repenting Maybe you joined the camp, maybe you didn't. You have Edomites who are sitting there counting how many congregations there are. Okay, you got this camp. Okay, you got Watchman for Israel. Okay, you got Sakari. Okay, you got IUIC. You got Great Millstone. You got ISBK. You got Sons of Thunder. You got House of Israel. You got all these different congregations, and they're bringing that back, man. Saying the Israelites are waking up. They're building themselves up. They're setting up spiritual walls. They're joining the foundations. They're coming back to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And this is slander. They're threatening the Jews. Because we're not, this. What does this mean? We're building a rebellious and bad city. This is what you call slander. Slander. To try to stop us from building. This is like writing an article. They wrote a letter. This is what people do now. How many Hebrew Israelites are there? How worried should the Jews be? This is the work of Sanballat and Tobiah the Horonite all over again, man. Writing letters, articles, slandering the men of the Lord, building a wall and building a city. It's the exact same thing. Remember, we are likened unto a city. Right? Did not the Most High call us a city that is set on a hill, cannot be hid? Let's get that in the book of Matthew real quick. Right? Let's go to the book of Matthew. Let's prove that. It's like in Matthew chapter 5. The Lord said the city or a city that is set on a wall should not be hid, man. You know? So these heathen are scared to death right now. That's Revelation chapter 11, 8 through 11. Isaiah 19, 15 on down. They're scared to death. Right? This St. Matthew chapter 5 and verse 14. Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid. Right? That city serves no purpose if it's on a hill and it's broken down. If the walls are broken. If the gate is on fire. If the towers are destroyed. If the temple is at naught. But if that city is builded like in the time of Nehemiah, if that city is builded like in the time of Ezra and Zerubbabel and Joshua, then you can't stop it, man. They're saying we're building this city all over again. Right? We're set upon Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. We are an exalted city, you know? And that's why it's important to read the Old Testament too. Contrary to Christianity, because when you come into this truth, you may have come from the background that you don't have to read the Old Testament. Just read from the book of Matthew all the way to the book of Revelation. And you'll find yourself not knowing who your enemy is. Because the beautiful thing amongst the 10,000 things twice told of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua is the Most High lets you know who your enemy is. As much as Esau gives you intel, Esau give other nations intel and intelligence about particular things that they do and or customs that we do and how many congregations there are and what men is that and what man is that. The Most High does that for you, man. The Most High lets you know who your enemy is, his tactics, his mannerisms, his psychology, his methodology, man. Right? His scheming, his plots. He is giving you intel, but you have to go see it, man. You have to read it. Right? Read Ezra. Read Nehemiah. Read Maccabee. Read these accounts about what your forefathers had to deal with as they returned back and build the temple and build the walls. Right? So the Most High is giving you intel. Remember, we're an army. Right? We're an army, man. You know? The nation of Israel is the army of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. That's Ezekiel 37:10, or the elect, rather. And if we're counted that, if we're woken up to this truth, we're part of that army. The Lord said, an exceeding great army. Right? Those are you brothers out there in the highways and byways doing the work of the Most High, man. You know? Now, when you go back to the book of Ezra, the 4th chapter, here's the slander again. Ezra 4:12. Be it known unto the king that the Jews, and it's not speaking about the small hats. It's not speaking about them, man. The Jews is talking about us, man. The Jews which came up from thee to us are come up unto Jerusalem, building the rebellious and bad city. Now, if this is speaking about the Amalekites, when did other nations not want, as a whole, The world as a whole not want Amalek to build, man. They gave them that, the British mandate. In the 1940s, after World War II, they gave them that state, man, the state of Israel. But when we build our spiritual city, they slander it. Verse 13, be it known now unto the king that if this city be builded, meaning if the Israelites repent, put on fringes, grow their beard out, stop committing adultery, stop celebrating worldly holidays, get off of drugs, learn to love one another. If this city be builded and the wall set up again, then will they not pay toll? Meaning they're going to mess up your money. You know, the so-called white man, kings, they don't play around with their bread. So they're trying to convince the king to shut us down from doing the work through slander. That's why this letter right here, or this article, because that's what it is. It's the same thing that this is, man. Same thing. Same slander. Same false accusation. Same spirit of persecution. Because it starts by a letter first, and then it gets physical. That's how it happened in time past. The Lord requires that which is past. Before they came, because when you read Nehemiah and Ezra, they actually came up with force, man, and stopped them from building. They came with force of the sword and said, y'all going to stop building. We're going to get that too, man. We're going to be in Ezra, in Nehemiah. We may be in Acts. We may be in Maccabees. We're going to pull up the articles. We're going to go through the history, Lord willing, right? Yahweh Shem Yahushai, Ratazah, that we may know what's going to befall us and this time until the time that Yahweh returns. You know? Now, let's go back to this. I want to finish this. So I'm going to read this one more time. I'm going to read it straight through. Be it not, Slack, be it known now unto the king that if the city be builded and the wall set up again, then will they not pay toll, tribute, and custom. And so thou shalt damage the revenue of the kings. And that's what we do. We literally, through the spirit, if we're not celebrating Halloween, that I believe America spent $10 billion on, if we're not celebrating Christmas, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, it's another worldly holiday, Mother's Day, I wonder how much money is spent on American holidays. How much money, Slakia for the typing, is spent on American holidays? It has to be billions and billions of dollars. Look at this. In 2020, Americans spent, look at that number, $777.35 billion on holiday-related purchases. And like I said, I want to know the demographics of that number. How much of that 77 billion are so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Americans? I'm led to believe well over 50%, since we dominate this American population. And we're more into idolatry than the other nations are. You know, nobody loves more Thanksgiving more than a so-called Black man and his grandmother and his auntie and his uncle. So I could be wrong, but I'm led to believe if we were to open up the demographics of that 77 billion, I'm led to believe more than 50% of them would be Israelites. I will have to, actually go into that. But it reads, in 2020, Americans spent $777 billion on holiday-related purchases. The average cost of Christmas shopping in the United States was $998 per person in 2021. Gifts for family members are the biggest expense for individuals, followed by food and decorations. Meaning what? The so-called white man studies that. He studies what's being bought. He has inventory. He deals with material planning. He deals with all types of things, man, to determine what's being bought, what's not being bought. So they're saying, look, if the Israelites are building up the wall, they're going to damage the revenue of the king, not just on holidays, but on just about anything, man. Church. I wonder how much the Christian church makes off of the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man. That number may damn near be close to this number. For every church in the cities of America, how much money are they making as a whole? Man, that number has to be, like I said, it has to be up there with this. So you got big churches, man. You got churches that they almost have billion-dollar stadiums, arenas, congregations, right? They have money. So between religion of the so-called white man, which is probably his biggest money maker, and his political holidays, his federal holidays, his two horns, is his biggest revenue, some of his biggest revenue, chiefly off the Israelites. So now these heathen are saying, hey, look, King, if they are to repent and keep the commandments of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, they're going to damage the revenue of the king, right? Let's read on. Verse 14, Ezra 4:14. Now because we have maintenance from the king's palace, and it was not meet for us to see the king's dishonor, therefore we have certified the king, that search may be made in the book of the records of thy fathers. So shalt thou find in the book of the records, and know that this is a rebellious city, and hurtful unto kings and provinces. And what? And that they have moved sedition within the same of old time, for which cause this city was destroyed. Look at this. They told the king, look in the records, study your own history. And this is what the so-called white man does, man. And the other nations. Because we have our book of records, which is the Bible. We have Chronicles. The heathen have Chronicles. We have books about our kings in the Bible. They have books about their kings. We have book about our famous men of renown, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, Isaiah, right? Peter, Paul. The heathen, they have the same thing. They're searching in their books and their records, and they know that when the Israelites are waking up and coming back to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, it's game over for them. They know that. So that's why they're writing that letter to the king through slander. And they even falsely charged us with what? Sedition. Do you think that's the only time? No, in the book of Acts, they charged Paul with sedition. They said Yahushai in Luke, the 23rd chapter, that Yahushai was a perverter of the nation. They said, we have found this man perverting the nation. They charged Yahushai with sedition. They charged the apostle Paul in Acts 24 with sedition. They charged Nehemiah and Ezra, Zerubbabel, Joshua, right? The leaders of our people. They charged those same men with sedition. And this, again, that's what they're going to label us with, man. Right? Because they're only going to put up with this for so long. Right? They're only going to put up with the Hebrew Israelites literally turning the world upside down. For the past 4 months or so, the Hebrew Israelites have been the talk of the town. They're trending just about every day, rather they're under the false label of Black Hebrew Israelites, or rather they're trending with sports. They might be trending with politics. They might be trending and damn other platforms of social media. And they're only going to put up with this for so long, man. They're going to charge the men of the Lord with these same crimes. This is the persecution that's coming. Now you may say, well, that may not happen, right? I know that won't happen to me because I'm doing everything right. Well, yes, brother, that's why it's going to happen, because you are doing everything right, because you are keeping the commandments. If I'm keeping the commandments, that won't happen to me. Well, brother, yes, it will. That's why it's going to happen to you, because you're keeping the commandments. What do you think is going on right here, man? Did not the Most High say in 2 Timothy, the 3rd chapter, yea, all that live godly in Yahushai will suffer persecution? Let's get that. right? We got to know what we in this thing for, man. Right? We have to know what we are involved in as a nation, man. Right? That's paramount. That the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man knows the details of this thing. 2 Timothy, the 3rd chapter. Let's deal with it. 2 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 12. Yea, and all that live godly in Hamashiach Yahushai shall suffer persecution. Let me read that again. Yea, or yeah, fuck you. And all that live and all that will live godly. So if you're keeping the Passover, if you love your brother, if you're keeping the high holy days, if you're putting away sin, drugs, weed, excessive drinking, you're not being a whoremongerer, the women aren't being whores, you're coming out of homosexuality, witchcraft, sorcery, idolatry, and you're beginning to live godly, guess what the Most High says is going to happen to you? And this isn't to people say you're doing that, you're trying to scare me. You're trying to scare me. I don't listen. This is what the Most High said. This is not Naquam or Watchman for Israel. They're trying to scare the sheep, right? No, this is the truth, man. This should boost your faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, man. Because the closer we get to persecution, we're also the closer we are to getting out of here, man. They're trying to scare me. They're trying. Well, hey, anyways, the Most High says save some with fear. So even if we was, man, which we're not, we're just reading the scriptures and breaking them down. I highly doubt when Timothy received this epistle from the Apostle Paul that Timothy said, oh, Paul is trying to scare me. No, Timothy understood the deal. Know the deal. Know what you signed up for. You signed up for this thing, man. The day that you repented and began to live godly is the day also that you became public enemy number one to this system. This is what it is, man. Right? Let's go to the let me go back to this in Ezra. Right? It says, and that they have moved with sedition within the same of old time, for which cause was this city builded. We certify the king, this Ezra 4:16. If this city be builded again, and the walls thereof set up, by this means thou shalt have no portion on this side the river. Meaning you have a control over the world is going to shut down if the Israelites are repenting and keeping the commandments. That's what they're essentially saying. Meaning what? In today's system, the so-called white man runs the earth. We know that. We know Job 9:24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? So the so-called white man has rulership on the earth right now. Every nation obeys the so-called white man. The Chinese man, right now, they're rioting, asking for democracy. In China, right now. In Iran, the women are dressing and want to be like the white women they see in America. They're taking their garments off, they're burning them, burning their dresses, and damn near chanting USA. Every nation wants to be like the so-called white man, and they will willingly submit. But hey, we live the life of Mordecai the Jew, man. We don't submit to the so-called white man. We don't submit to Amalek. Remember, when you read the book of Esther, right? Does it not say that Mordecai bowed not? Right? I believe that's Esther, the 3rd chapter. Right? Let's get that. Right? Our life is lived vicariously in time past through Mordecai. Right? And vice versa. This is Esther chapter 3 and verse 1. And brothers have to be like Mordecai. Be like Mordecai. And Mordecai had a high position. Mordecai wasn't a beggar on the streets. He wasn't a low-level guy, man. Mordecai was up there. He was in the king's court. A lot of our forefathers had high positions in captivity, and they boldly followed Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Daniel was 3rd in the entire Babylonian kingdom. Boldly followed Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Even when there was a petition said that no man can make a petition but to the king, Daniel knew that the writing was signed. and went into his house with the windows being open and prayed to Jerusalem 3 times a day as his manner was. Boldly follow Yahushua. He was in a high position. He had money. He had wealth. Nehemiah, he was in the king's court. He had the highest position in the king's court. Told the king to his face. Said, look, I'm an Israelite, man. I got to go build up my city. And the Most High gave him favor to do such a thing. Zerubbabel, same thing in First Ezra. He was the bodyguard of the king. These men had power, positions, even in captivity. And they boldly followed Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. And the Most High was with these men. Mordecai is nobody different. Mordecai was in a king's court. The so-called white man is about to tell him to bow down. This is one of the hardest, toughest, baddest, most righteous accounts in the Bible, right? Esther chapter 3 and 1. And no sword was drawn, but yet this is still mighty. No arrows were thrown, but this is right here, man. This is it, right? This Esther chapter 3 and 1. After these things did King Ahasuerus promote Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him, and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. Now Hammedatha, the Agagite, is the father of Haman. The Agagite goes back to King Agag, right? It goes back to King Agag, who was an Amalekite in 1 Samuel, the 15th chapter, right? Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 15. He is an Agagite, right? 1 Samuel chapter 15, and I'm going to read 2, then I'm going to jump down. 1 Samuel 15 and 2. Thus said the Lord of hosts, I remember that which Amalek did to Israel, how he laid wait for him in the way when he came up from Egypt. Now go and smite Amalek and utterly destroy all that they have, and spare them not, but slay both man and woman, infant and suckling, ox and sheep, camel and ass. So the Most High told Saul, a Benjamite, and Mordecai is a Benjamite. Mordecai, he's about to do what Saul didn't do, man. And they come from the same stock. Now, he said, go smite Amalek. Now, let's see the king of Amalek. Just 1 Samuel chapter 15 and 9. But Saul was told strictly to kill everybody, right? And what did he do? But Saul and the people spared Agag. Agag is the king of the Amalekite. The Amalekite man is the so-called Jew. That's his modern day term, if you didn't understand. That's his biblical nationality. So Saul let Amalek live, man. He spared Agag and the best of the sheep and of the oxen and of the fatlings and the lambs and all that was good, and would not utterly destroy them, but everything that was vile and refuse, that they destroyed utterly. So Agag is an Amalekite. All the way down from the Argead dynasty of the ancient Greeks to Macedonia, because that's where Agag's people was at. That's where they ended up going, right? That's where Haman came from. When you read the editions of Esther, he came from Macedonia. A lot of Amalekites, and Temanites, they dwelt in Macedon, right? And that's history for another day. That was on the older Cold Cuts channel. We covered how Esau went into Europe and took down the Japhites and became those people, right? They became the Etruscans, the Romans, the Samnites, the Umbrians, right? All of these various Japhetic tribes that dwelt up there, right? Now, the point of the matter is Haman is an Amalekite, a so-called Jew. Let's see what happened. Esther 3 and 1, right? And advanced him. So they advanced his Amalekite and set his seat above all the princes that were with him. And all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed. Everybody bowed to this man. Everybody, the entire kingdom bowed down to this man. The whole world. That's what we're reading about in the Bible. Everybody bowed to this man except one man. One man did not bow. Can you imagine bow? And you don't have to always bow down like a Chinese man to bow down. Bow down is when you deny this truth to keep money, to save your life, to preserve your family, to prolong your land, your life in captivity. All of that is forms of bowing down. Conforming your ways, trimming your ways to seek love. These are different forms of bowing down. You don't always have to bow down like you bowing down to like the Ishmaelite man bows down to the Mecca cobblestone in Mecca. That's a physical act of bowing down. People morally bow down, spiritually bow down to this man. Right? A lot of celebrities, they do this, man. They apologize. Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. I didn't mean it. Oh, I regret that. I hurt people. I shouldn't have said that. I misspoke. I wasn't talking about them. I really meant this. A lot of people bow down to Amalek. Hey, the hell with Amalek, man. Let me go back to this. Now let's see what Mordecai did, man. Right? And all this Esther 3:2, and all the king's servants that were in the king's gate bowed in reverence to Haman, for the king had so commanded concerning him. But Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. And the king says, so Mordecai said, to hell with that, man. I don't care what the king said. I don't care what Amalek is on. I am not bowing down to this damn devil. You got people, well, Mordecai should have bowed down. He should have used wisdom. Yeah. No, that is using wisdom. Using wisdom is serving Yahweh by Hashem Yahushai only. That's keeping the first commandment. Wisdom is not preserving your life that you may freak off, man, and keep your position. And Mordecai had money. Mordecai had bread. He was in the king's gate too. And he said, I'm not bowing down to the so-called white man. And guess what's happening in the last days? Right? The men of the Lord aren't bowing down to the so-called white man. And they're worried. Oh boy, they're not bowing down to us. Everybody else is. This is like Esther all over again. There's a whole bunch of Mordecais. That's how they look at us, man. They look at the servants of the Most High as a whole bunch of Mordecais. Read the book of Esther, man, and see, it's a beautiful book, man. The whole Bible is beautiful. But Esther is a damn mirror image of what we're dealing with now and what's to come. Same thing, right? How worried should the Jews be? Because they were worried, man. Haman was worried. Right? Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence. So we don't bow down to the so-called white man. We don't care what the king says. If Biden came out, your supervisor, your boss, a general of the so-called white man's army, the captain, white Jesus himself can come up with his costume on, and guess what, man? We're not bowing down. And if you bow down to the so-called white man, hey, Yahushua is going to deny you, man. A lot of brothers don't want to deal with the outcome of not bowing down, because persecution comes with that. But Mordecai knew that. It's not like he didn't know. But he believed in Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua so much, he said he didn't care about the consequences. He didn't care about losing his job, being in the king's court. He didn't care about his position. He didn't care about anything, man. He only cared about serving Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. And that's the spirit we need to be in the last days. We need to, no matter what position you're in, poor, average, medium class, rich, be like Mordecai. Let's go to the book of Matthew, the 16th chapter. Right? Let's go to St. Matthew, chapter 16. None of our forefathers, like Daniel, Mordecai, Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael, even our foremother Esther, they dealt with the persecution that came with it. Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael, who you know as Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, which I don't like to call them by those names because those are their Babylonian names. Nevertheless, they were thrown in the fiery furnace. Daniel was thrown in the lion's den. They was about to hang Mordecai for this. But they said, I'd rather serve Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai than man. Yeah, I could prolong my life amongst men, but I will not prolong my life in the sight of God. Integrity goes a long way, Israel. Have integrity, no matter what is put in your way. Even when Job lost everything, the Most High charged Job, said, this man still holdeth fast his integrity, though you moved me against him to destroy him. That's what the Most High told Satan. Let me get that real quick. Slacky, I typed the wrong thing. Let's go to Job, the 2nd chapter. Right? Have integrity in this thing. And I want to go into this article, but I wanted to touch on that. I wanted to make that point. Right? I wanted to make that point. Right? This Job chapter 2 and verse 3. And the Lord, Slakia, and the Lord said unto Job, Slakia, and the Lord said unto Satan, hast thou considered my servant Job, that there is none like him of the earth, a perfect and an upright man, one that feareth the Most High and escheweth evil, and still he holdeth fast his integrity, although thou movest me against him to destroy him without cause. And that's deep, right? Job didn't even do anything to deserve what was given to him. And what did the Most High say? He still holdeth fast his integrity, man. Even when odds were against him and he was moved by Satan to destroy him without cause, he held fast his integrity. Didn't charge the Most High with foolishness, did not sin with his lips. And that's the spirit we want to be in. Integrity is going to preserve you more than riches, more than your wife, more than your job, more than your funds in your bank account. Integrity is a spirit that has to be given to you freely from Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, man. You can have all of the wisdom in the world and no integrity and die. You can have all of the in-depth breakdowns, all of the money, all of the wealth, all of the women, all of the clothes, all of the fashion trends. You can have it all. And the Lord said in the book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 9 and 6, though a man never be so perfect among the children of men, yet if thy wisdom be not with him, yet he shall be nothing regarded. That's written. Just like that. So you can have it all, but if you don't have the wisdom of the Most High, the integrity, then you'll be nothing regarded. And listen to what Satan said to the Most High, right? Job 2 and 4. And Satan answered the Lord and said, skin for skin, yea, all that a man hath will he give for his life. So he said skin for skin. Meaning what? Meaning what? Job will give up anything just to keep himself alive. Right? Meaning, yeah, you could take away his family. You could take away his sons and daughters, his cattle, his she asses, his servants. As long as Job is alive, he's going to serve you. But if you touch Job and touch his life, then he's going to deny you. That's what skin for skin means. And a lot of brothers are they're going to live up to this skin for skin. Right? You might lose your job and money, but if it's time to lose your life, you ain't going to do it, man. You give up everything to keep your life. A lot of brothers, they do just to stay alive, man. They'll deny the Most High. They'll deny Yahweh, Yahushai. Skin for skin, right? And Satan knows that. He knows man. He knows that man is weak. That's why he told the Most High, skin for skin, because man is weak. Man does not have integrity. Man is carnal. Satan said, I do this every day, man. He said, I go up and down. Spirits are on men. They give in. They get weak. They sin against you. I know, man, right? And you can't let Satan call you out like this, man. A lot of brothers let Satan, take this to the Most High, and this fits you, Let's go back to the book of Esther, right? Chapter 3 and verse 3, right? Then I want to go back to that article and dive into it. It reads, then the king's servants, which were in the king's gate, said unto Mordecai, why transgresses thou the king's commandment? They said, why are you not bowing down to the Amalekite? Why aren't you bowing down to the so-called white man? What's your deal, Mordecai? Now remember, Mordecai's at work. This essentially is like a workplace kind of environment. They're all in the king's court. This is his occupation. And I believe when you go into the history, they say Mordecai was a scribe. Some history says he was a scribe. Some say he was like he dealt with the finances and the revenue. Nevertheless, he had a high position, right? It reads, now it came to pass when they spake daily unto him, and he hearkened not unto them, that they told Haman to see whether Mordecai's matters would stand, for he had told them that he was a Jew. He said, I'm a Jew, man. What do I look like bowing down to the Amalekite, man? Right? They talking to him daily. And that's how Satan is. Satan try to convince you daily to bow down, to tempt you to sin, to smoke weed, go deal with the old friends of the world, freak off with old women, break the Sabbath day. Mordecai said, look, I'm a Jew. God forbid that I should bow down to this man. If I see a brother bowing down to this man, even physically, I'm going to pluck my hair out my beard, man. And my zeal may inflame me. That's a sight I don't want to see. Now, we see it every day. But if you understand what I'm saying, we see it all the time. We just saw it. Right? You have celebrities, they bow down every day. Celebrities, athletes, they do it all the time. Jake do it all the time. You bow down to the spiritual demon Satan. But if I was to see that in person, a man physically bowing down, like if I'm at camp at the harbor and I see a man just walk over and bow down to Amalek, and Amalek sits there and laughs, and hey man, we'll lose our mind out there, right? Let me finish this. So Mordecai told him he was a Jew, and when Haman, here's the point. I'm gonna read 3 and 5 through 6. Esther 3 and 5. And when Haman saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. So these devils are full of wrath right now because we're not bowing down, right? We're keeping the commandments. We're serving the Most High. We're not eating pork. We did not celebrate Thanksgiving, right? We will not celebrate Sinmas. We're damn sure not counting down for the ball to drop on 4th of July. Valentine's Day, we're not dealing with it, man. We're keeping the Sabbath. We got the Feast of Dedication coming up, new moons. We got destruction of Nicanor around the corner, Purim right after that for 2 days straight. And these devils are full of wrath because we're not bowing down. If you want to know how they feel about you keeping the commandments, it's documented right here. When you see articles like this and you want to know what the so-called white man is about, the emotions behind this article are an amalgamation of fear, wrath, damn near worry, anxiety. These are the different spirits that befall our enemy when they see the Most High's chosen people waking up. And that's biblical. That's not me speaking. That's scripture, right? We read in the book of Nehemiah, Salakia, chapter 2, that it said it grieved them. Now we're reading in the book of Esther, that he's full of wrath, right? Grieved, full of wrath, anger, anxious. These are the spirits that are on a so-called white man in the last days. That's why they're making articles like this. That's why they're putting this stuff out there, man. Now, let me finish the next verse. Esther chapter 3 and 6. So here's what Esau sought to do. And he thought scorn to lay hands on Mordecai alone. For they had showed him the people of Mordecai, wherefore Haman did what? Sought to destroy all the Jews that were throughout the whole kingdom of Ahasuerus, even the people of Mordecai. So when you don't bow down to the so-called white man, what does the so-called white man seek to do? He seeks to destroy all the Jews. Same thing in Ezra. Same thing in Nehemiah. I mean, it's a reoccurring spirit on a heathen that goes back from the ancient times. All the way from the ancient times, man. Right? They sought to destroy all the Jews. So what do you think these Amalekites are thinking about now? Right? What do you think? They're mad right now, man. If you were to, if the Most High gave you the ability to teleport, to be invisible, and you were in these godforsaken synagogues and creepy skyscrapers where Amalek is at, and mansions, and you were to hear what they were saying, your ears are tingle, huh? Your stomach will turn to hear the conversations that Amalek is saying about you right now. And they want to shut things down, but the spirit of Yahweh Shai is working on the servants of the Lord, man. See, this is not of man, this is of the Most High. And they may very well be trying to shut the live down right now and trying to, God, we shut this down and shut this channel down. And but the Most High is confounding them. You know? See, this is of the Lord. This is not of man. This is not, like I say, a movement, man. People talk about the Hebrew Israelite movement. This is not a movement. The Nation of Islam, that was a movement. The Black Panthers Party, that was a movement. 5%ers and Nations of Gods and Kings, that was a movement, man. Rastafarianism and all of that, that's a movement. This is not a movement, man. This is a resurrection, man. This is a great awakening of the children of the Most High God, man. And we moving to Yahweh Shai, man. And the Most High is going to put the spirit on us to move to destroy you, man. That's the movement that's going on. If there was one. Now I want to go back to this article. Okay, how many Hebrew Israelites are there? Right? And how worried should the so-called Jew be? Right? Should the so-called Jew be? Recent militant posturing of Israel United in Christ, followers of Hebrew Israelite spiritual movement, has alarmed many already on edge from recent attacks, rise in anti-Semitism. And a lot of these devils, they deal with false flags, right? They'll have their own CIA mind control agents and false men unawares to do attacks and blame it on the Israelites to further defame the ministry and galvanize the American public to be against the servants of God, right? That's all it does. It's nothing but sorcery. It's nothing but witchcraft, right? And you see the brothers out there, right? Now, it says, let me see how long this article is. I didn't read the whole thing. Okay, I'm not going to read this whole thing. I may jump because it's fairly long. It's actually very long, right? But I may jump here and there because I also want to go into the history too, right? It says, dressed in matching purple hoodies and shirts with gold fringes attached to the bottom, in observance to Deuteronomy 22:12, hundreds of members of the controversial Hebrew Israelite group marched through the streets of Brooklyn on Sunday. Hey, Jacob, it's time to wake up, they chanted, using the term for the people of color who have yet to embrace their true identity as descendants of the biblical Jacob, later called Israel. We got good news for you. You are the real Jews, right? Now, I want to jump down. Like I said, I don't want to read this whole article. Okay, here's what I want, right? It says, before 2019, those American Jews who were even aware of the once obscure black Hebrew Israelite, and I'm not even going to go in on this name, right? Not one time did we ever call ourselves, any congregation I could think of, have ever identified as a black Hebrew Israelite, right? And we can name many congregations. They have not one time said we are the black Hebrew Israelites. If there's a group of men with fringes on, teaching the Bible, and they identify as black Hebrew Israelites, you want to watch them, right? Keep one eye open, man. Right? But it reads, like, and I don't mean watch them in a good way, likely associated with the loud but non-violent street preachers who would harangue, if I'm pronouncing that right, pedestrians in city centers. Right? In December of that last year, however, extremists professing Israelite beliefs attacked a grocery store in Jersey City, New Jersey, and a Hanukkah party in Muncie, New York. And we've covered that in time past, right? We've covered that. That had nothing to do with the servants of the Most High out there on the highways and byways, right? 2 Jews, Amalekites, were killed in Jersey City, and a 72-year-old rabbi, right, who was stabbed in the head. Now, I don't even know if I can express how I feel about a 72-year-old rabbi being stabbed in the head on YouTube. They might just shut the channel down, man. Right? A 72-year-old rabbi got stabbed in the head. Right? Let's read on. And Muncie died from his injuries 3 months later, stabbed in the head. You know, and the Most High got spirits going to and fro, man. Hopping on men and using Esau to attack Esau and put the spirit on this man to stab this guy in the head. That's a rare thing, getting stabbed in the head, man. Some people get stabbed in the stomach. They might get stabbed in the back. Esau would know all about stabbing people in the back. Some people get stabbed in the damn side. And he got stabbed in the head, man. You know? And the Lord said, there be 9 things that I've judged in my heart, and to be happy in the 10th what I utter with my tongue. A man that had joy of his children, and he that liveth to see the fall of his enemy. Right? That's Ecclesiasticus chapter 25, 7 on down. Right? So, you know, we're not sad about this. I'll put it like that. We are not sad about an Amalekite man dying. Right? I'll say exactly like that. I'll speak for myself. I'm not sad about an Amalekite man dying, regardless of how it happened. All right? Let's read on. The only good so-called Amalekite man, right? And brothers know what I'm about to say. Really, there's only 2 good Amalekites. There's only 2 good Amalekites. I'm sure brothers already know. What's the 2 good type of Amalekites on the earth? There's only 2 of them, two types. Right? Let's see if brothers know. There's only 2 types of Amalekites. A dead one, right? That's one. A dead one and an enslaved one. Those are the only 2 good types of Amalekites on the earth. Dead or in slavery, man. And you're still the damn devil with your chains on. Dead and in slavery. Those are the only Amalekites that you know I kind of deal with, man. Are you dead? Are you being destroyed by a missile, by a chariot for your disobedience, for your wickedness? Or are you enslaved with chains on, huh? And still being a serpent? Other than that, we don't know any good Amalekites. We don't deal with them, huh? Right? But let's go back to this. People, oh, that's harsh. You shouldn't say that, right? You shouldn't say it. Oh, it's in the Bible. It's in the Bible. Did not the Most High say? Let's get this quick precept. You may say that's harsh. You shouldn't say that. Now you went too far. Right? You may have people, oh, he took it too far, right? Hey, guess what, man? The Most High is going to take it further than that. Did not the Most High say in Psalms chapter 149 and verse Actually, yeah, Psalms chapter 149 and verse 5. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud upon their beds. Let the high praises of the Most High be in their mouth and a two-edged sword in their hand. So we're going to be praising Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, man. And that two-edged sword, that's not a parable. Yeah, brother saying, I wonder what the two-edged sword is talking about in the book of Psalms 149. Oh boy, that's deep right there. What is a two-edged sword? Is that going into the word of God? Is that going into the sword of the spirit? Is that going, what is that? Brother, it's an actual two-edged sword that the Most High is going to give you. And no, you're not going to, what do I do? Do I turn it in? Do I have to? No, brother. You're going to use that sword for a particular purpose. That's your sword given to you by God. To do what? To execute vengeance upon the heathen and punishments upon the people. And this is after. Let's make this clear. This is after. After Yahushua comes, man. We're not going to be doing this before Yahushua returns. Because you may have Jake, they're getting excited, they're getting zealous, and they going on Amazon, they looking up chains and a two-edged sword. And brother, you have to wait upon Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. The Lord says, stir not up, nor await my love till he please. In Song of Solomon. Right? 2nd chapter. So you want to wait on the Lord, and this is going to go down. Verse 8. To bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute upon them the judgment written, this honor have all his saints, praise ye the Lord. So it's an honorable thing to enslave the other nations. That's honorable. There's no honor in smoking a blunt. There's no honor in doing wickedness amongst your people, right? There is no honor in selling your soul and trimming your ways to seek love. But there is honor in doing the will of the Most High God. Chiefly, and this prophecy cut down these damn heathen, man. That's an honorable thing in the eyes of the Most High. Right? The Lord even said in Psalms chapter 137, you got brothers saying, oh, don't bring that out. Don't bring out Psalms chapter 137. You may have certain people who just take that page out the Bible, man. They may keep verses 1 through 6, but then when they get to 7 and 8, that may not be fine. I don't like that part. That's too harsh. Right? I don't want to read Psalms chapter 137, 7 and 8, but I will read 1 through 6. And they take a big black Sharpie and they just Sharpie over verse 7 and 8. And every time they get to it, see, they get to the blue letter like this with the whole verse, and they kind of zoom in, and they don't want to deal with verse 7 and 8. Hey, but guess what, man? Guess what we're going to do tonight? We're going to read verse 7 and 8, right? We're going to read 7 and 8. Because it's prophecy, man. Because the Most High has it in the scriptures, man. We're not going to shy away from verse 7 and 8 like the Christian church. Or, bro, don't bring that out, Ak. You got to use wisdom. Come on, Ak. What are you doing bringing that one out? And we're going to read it, man. Right? This Psalms chapter 137. We're going to read 7 through really 9. I forgot about 9. Not just 7 and 8, but also 9. Because 9 is where it really, 9 is where it hits home. Then I'm going to go back to that article, man. Because, you have brothers saying, well, the 72-year-old rabbi, we should have a moment of silence. Right? Where's that article at? We should have a moment of silence for the 72-year-old rabbi. Right? Does the so-called white man have a moment of silence for George Floyd, for Trayvon Martin? Did they have a moment of silence for Emmett Till? Right? I wanted to go back to where I left off, but let me read this verse. Psalms chapter 137 and verse 7. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom, and the day of Jerusalem, who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof. So, in 2 accounts, the summer of 586 BC, the Edomites exhorted in wickedness the Babylonians as they were destroying Jerusalem. You can read that in the book of Obadiah, verses 10 and 11. They said, when the temple was about to be destroyed, they asked to burn it down. The Edomites are the ones who actually burned the temple down in Jerusalem. Let's get that in First Ezra. They said, raise it, meaning burn it down, right? We hate the Most High. We hate God. We hate his people. That's what the Edomites said, right? First Ezra, let's read that, chapter 4 and verse 45. Thou also hast vowed to build up the temple which the Edomites burned when Judea was made desolate by the Chaldeans or Chaldees. So when Nebuchadnezzar II in 586 BC came and destroyed the temple, destroyed the city, Esau came out of nowhere. Said, oh, the Israelites are being destroyed. Can we do the honors of burning down their temple? They said, no, you don't want to burn the wall down? No, we don't want to burn the wall down. You want to burn Solomon's house down? Or we don't want to burn that house. We want the temple of God. And they said, well, why do you want to burn the temple down? They say, because the Spirit of God is in there. We want to burn it down. That's how Esau feels about the Most High, man. They burnt the temple down, and they weren't even in the war. This was between the Babylonians and the children of Judea. And Esau, bloodlust, haters of God, went out of their way to burn the temple of the Most High down. So that's what the prophecy says. Remember, O Lord, the children of Edom. So we remember that. We remember in 70 AD when they burned the temple down. That's the day of Jerusalem that brothers should be remembering. You're commanded to remember those days. Not sinless and thank stealing, man. Who said, raise it, even to the foundation thereof, meaning burn it down to the ground. O daughter of Babylon, who art to be destroyed. Moses said they have to be destroyed. Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. So the Most High said, you're going to be happy for payback. When it's time to get vengeance, when it's time to clap back, to get back on Amalek, you're going to be happy to do it. You're not going to be grilled. I don't know. Never really hurt no one before. I don't know. He's old. He's an Amalekite. He has the sideburns. What if I knock his hat off? What if I drop his suitcase? What if his black coat? Hey, the hell with all of that, man. I don't give a damn about his small hat, his big hat, and his black coat, and that nasty suitcase, man. The Lord said, happy shall he be. Jake, you're happy now when you might get a bonus at your job. You know, you might find $40 in your clothes. You wash your clothes, you find $40 in there. You might be happy, right? You might be happy. You get a raise, a promotion. There will not be a greater sense of happiness and joy ever, or chiefly, should I say, when you're destroying the Amalekites. Right? Happy shall he be that rewardeth thee as thou hast served us. Happy shall he be that taketh and dasheth thy little ones against the stones. And no, this is not a parable. That is not a dark saying. That's not a similitude. That doesn't require an in-depth breakdown. Right? I'm getting happy thinking about it, man. You got brothers saying that's a dark saying. That's not literal. Right? That's a parable. Well, if that's a parable, break it down. Right? If this is a dark saying and it's not literal and it's a similitude, what is it talking about then? That's a dark saying. David played that on the harp. You got to link it up with Psalms 49. Brother, that's literal. Let's pull this up, boy. Let's pull this up. We're going to go from man to boy. Right? Look at this. Look at this. Right? This is not for the weak of heart. I'm going to put that out there. This is not for the weak of heart, man. Look at that. He blowing in your menorah, man. Look at this. Look at these socks. You mean to tell me you don't want to live out Psalms 137 with these socks they got right here, man? Nice Jewish boy. Type of sick, perverted nation is this, man? The Most High said you're going to be happy to take Esau, Amalek, and dash him against the stones. Right? That's biblical. Those are actual stones. Actual rocks. Like if you look up sharp rocks or sharp stones, and you're going to dash them against the stones. That's Bible prophecy. So, yes, a 72-year-old rabbi got cut down in the land of the living. Hey, you know, it is what it is, man. Right? It is what it is. Now, are the Israelites that believe in the Most High God doing that? No. Are we waiting on Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai? Yes. Because the Most High, he's going to give us the green light to do that. We can't stir up ourselves. Remember, soldiers don't move without a king. They don't move without their king. That's first Esdras, right? Let me get this precept real quick. Right? Soldiers don't move without a king, man. Right? This first Esdras chapter 3, dealing with the strength of the king. Let's see, Salaki. Let me see if this is what I want. First Esdras chapter 3 and 10. So all his people and his armies obey him. Furthermore, he lieth down, he eateth and drinketh, and taketh his rest, man. So the armies of a king, they obey the king. Right? Remember, we're the army of the Lord, man. You can't just be going out and doing your own thing, man. Oh, I'm going to get carnal. And then you taking all the damn weapon and doing God knows what, man. You have to have a spiritual mind in this thing. You have to have a sense of discernment and patience. Patience is critical in this truth. You know how we all want to live out Psalms 137 and 8 through 9, Psalms 149, 5 through 8, right? And a plethora of other precepts that we long for. But we have to wait on Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, man. Like any great soldier would. You brothers want to take on Amalek, they can't even take on the weed demon they got on right now. Man, how are you going to conquer Amalek? Brother, conquer the weed demon first. Conquer the pride demon. Conquer the lust, and then you'll be able to conquer these nations. The true war is within you. Even Job said, changes in war are against me. Right? So let's go back to this. I want to go back to that point of where we left off. Right? Let's see. Okay, I left off right here. Okay, 2 Amalekites were killed in Jersey City, and a 72-year-old rabbi who was stabbed in the head. Right, we almost did a whole lesson on that, man. We can do a whole lesson on a 72-year-old rabbi getting stabbed in the head. That'd be a whole breakdown. All right? It reads, was stabbed in the head, and Monty died from his injuries 3 months later. All right? Do we condone hasty natures of taking violent acts on the enemy right now? No. Like we just said, we waiting on Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. But are we sad that Amalek got stabbed in the head? No. All right? Let's read on. Because you got to clarify. You walk upon snares and traps, right? So brothers have to always qualify and clarify what you say and what you mean. In this day and age, they'll chop and edit the footage, and WFI said, look, we following what Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai said, man, the scriptures, right? Let's read on. It says, with the memory of those attacks still fresh. Okay, that's fresh, but George Floyd isn't fresh. Right? A man just got lynched about 2 weeks ago, but that's not fresh. Young so-called black girls are coming up missing every day, but that's not fresh in your memory. Show you that these devils who wrote this article, I believe it was an Amalekite. I may have to pull it up, but it was something Stein, Albert Stein, or something like that. Right? With the memory of those attacks still fresh, and against the backdrop of a surge in public expressions of anti-Semitism, and this is slander. Where's the public expressions of anti-Semitism? I know what Amalek is trying to say, but it's a lie. He's speaking about the Israelites, the men who know that they're Israel, simply proclaiming that they know who they are. Rather at camp or rather behind the podium. But remember, we read the same spirit. The same spirit this article is in is the same spirit of Ezra, the 4th chapter. When he wrote that letter, when Sanballat and Tobiah the servant wrote an article essentially to the king, moving in the same spirit as this right here, man. To stop us from building and to stop us from doing the work of God. Same thing. Let's read on. With the memory of those attacks still fresh and against the backdrop of a surge this fall in public expressions of anti-Semitism, combined with threats of violence against Amalekite communities. Now, hold on now. Last time I checked, there was a synagogue threat, I believe in Jersey, and guess what type of individual did it? Right? Guess what type of individual did it? Who threatened the synagogue? Who did it? Let's pull it up. You may say, well, I don't know who did it. We're going to come back to this. Right? We got to come back to this. Let's see. Right? Just got to pull this up. I didn't have it already set up. Salakia. Spelled it a little wrong. But look at this. Let's see. November. And I believe this was an Amalekite, if I'm not mistaken. I believe they came out and said it. He was an Amalekite. Let's see. Bear with me. I may have to find that information. But they did come out and say that. Right? They did come out and say that. Let me see if I can type this in. See if it come up. But let's see. Bear with me. Right? If I can't find it, I'm gonna have to pull it up. I don't know if I skipped over it. Let's see. Bear with me. Like I said, I really want to pull this up. I maybe just be rushing, kind of skipping over it. So Salakia, if that's the case. But an Amalekite man did it. Right? It was an Amalekite man who he actually, let me see if I can go back and clarify the church. The search. Let's see if I typed this in. Let's see. It was two Amalekites. Right? Or one of them was an Amalekite. They came out and said it. Right? They came out and said it. I could pull that information up in due time. I don't want to spend all day looking for it. But nevertheless, when you look it up, one of those men was an Amalekite. And they said they were surprised, man. Right? So they want to talk about so-called anti-Semitism. Who was the one that was doing it, man? You damn devil. It was your people. I believe it was this man because he looked like an Amalekite. I could be wrong. Right? But when you go into it, they're talking about the rise in violence. The most recent, even alleged threat is done by Amalek himself. And they've come out and said that. So Esau's a hypocrite, man. And a liar. Now let's not forget the devil. Let's go back to this, where we left off. Right? It says, combined with threats of violence against Amalekite communities. And that was your own people doing that. Emanating from other extremist corners, the militant posturing of IUIC has alarmed many Jews already on edge. Right? And those brothers came out and said that they're here for a spiritual war. Right? They came out and said that. But we know how the devil works, right? We know that, like I said, the inevitable prophecy, right? We know the inevitable prophecy. I believe somebody said on the comment board, false flag, right? They do things like this, man. That's one of Esau's next big things. He's going to do something, rather he does it against a building, or he may be watching now and say, well, they're on to us. Well, the Most High is on to you. Right? Rather they try to destroy a building and a public official, a mass so-called killing or shooting, and they're going to zoom in on camera, and it's going to be an Israelite man with fringes on it. Right? And he might have a cap name on him. They might say we found his manifesto, because I guess everybody has a manifesto now. So now we found his manifesto. He was part of this congregation. He belonged to them. And then they're going to have to say, look, that wasn't me. They're going to have Israelites saying, look, y'all started. It's going to be Esau's going to sow discord. He's going to sow discord, man. Right? And you got to prepare for that. Brothers have to mentally prepare for the discord that Amalek is going to sow amongst us in the truth. Because he deals with spies. He deals with agents. Yahushua dealt with it. Let's get Luke chapter 20. Right? Esau deals with that type of stuff, man. CIA mind control, MK Ultra, right? Hiring brothers. You watched the movie. You've seen the movie. Judas and the Black Messiah. I can't remember that guy's name who sold out Fred Hampton. You've seen In Too Deep with Omar Epps, man. Right? Let's get Luke chapter 20. Let's go to St. Luke chapter 20. Right, quick precept on that. St. Luke chapter 20. That's how this devil get down. And verse 20. And they watched him and sent forth spies. See that? Which should feign themselves just men, that they might take hold of his words, that so they might deliver him unto the power and authority of the governor. So Yahushua had to deal with spies. You don't think the servants of the Most High have to deal with spies? It's the same thing all over again. The same spirit. That's Matthew the 10th chapter. All right, let's go back to this. Rabbi Mordecai, Lightstone of Crown Heights, observed on Twitter that the Israelites who regularly preach near his home on Shabbat, look at this, look at his wording, have been particularly aggressive. Right? And Esau can't prove these things, man. You know, and that's what the Apostle Paul said in Acts the 24th chapter. When they charged Paul with sedition, he said, neither can they prove the things whereof now they accuse me. He said, I believe all things written in the law and in the prophets. Right? And Esau is such a coward that the slightest elevation in an Israelite voice is aggression to him. But he can go rape, rob, and murder in the name of democracy. But you raise your voice You simply change your countenance, and now you're aggressive. You just grow your beard out, and now you're becoming more aggressive. But Esau can go aggressively do sex trafficking with children in other nations. He can go and burn down hospitals and bomb children and harvest organs and reap the benefits of slavery, but yet there has been aggression amongst the Israelites. Right? Esau, how do you say, give me a break, man? Right? This Acts chapter 24 and 13. This is Acts 24 and 11. Right? So Paul essentially was put on trial, right? Which is coming to the servant of the Lord. And because remember, Paul was charged with sedition. I'm going to read verse 5 and I'm going to jump on down. This Paul before Felix. Acts 24 and 5. For we have found this man a pestilent fellow. And I believe they hired an Israelite. It was this Terlitus. All right, they hired this top Israelite man. I believe he's an Israelite. Let me pull this up. To actually speak against the Apostle Paul. Right, because he was an eloquent man. He knew the law. He knew the customs of court. They say a Roman orator, right? But he was an I believe he was an Israelite, but under Roman citizenship. Like Paul was a Roman, right? Or Silas was a Roman. So they hired this man Terlitus, right, to speak against the Apostle Paul on behalf of the wicked Jews. And listen to what they said. Acts 24 and 5. For we have found this man a pestilent fellow, and a mover of sedition among all the Jews throughout the world, and a ringleader of the sect of the Nazarenes. And that's really, they went at the, they always go at leadership first. So you have brothers in leaderships in particular congregations or in the nation. That's how they looked at the Apostle Paul. They call him a ringleader, and they also charge him with sedition. Right? And like I said, you have heads of different congregations throughout main congregations throughout Israel. Right? You got Bishop Nathaniel, right? Because they're in that article. You got Apostle Tahar and Great Millstone. You got Chief Priest Alazar and Sakar. You got Elder Priest Sabak and House of Israel. Right, you have Elder Yahweh All and Sons of Thunder, and if I forget the name one, Salaki, bear with me. But you have these different you got General Yohana and ISUPK. You know, you have these different congregations, and they looked at the Apostle Paul as that top man. They're going to look at these men, right? These different leaders that the Most High set up in the last days, regardless of the slight difference in doctrine or can't beef, whatever folly that's going on. You know, they're going to look at those men in that same light. And they're going to say these men are movers of sedition. They're ringleaders of what? Stirring up confusion in the Roman Empire. Now, sedition is a federal crime in America. All right, let's pull that up now. What is sedition? Right? Penalty of sedition. Right? In America. Slaki, bear with me. What is the penalty of sedition in America? Let's see. Sedition. Advocating overthrow of government. Right? That's what they charged Ezra with. Nehemiah, Zerubbabel, Joshua, Mordecai, Paul, Yahushua, the apostles, us. They're going to charge us with that, right? Advocating overthrow of government shall be fined under this title, and they're not going to fine a servant to the Lord, right? Because this thing is heating up too much. They're way beyond giving you a fine. It's going to be imprisoned. Imprisoned not more than 20 years or both, right? But we know prophetically it's going to be more than imprisonment, right? Let's see. Chapter 115. Let's deal with the U.S. Code. Because remember, they charged the Apostle Paul with sedition. We read in the book of Ezra, they charged those men with sedition. I'm just going in the spirit. This may not be the official government site, but you know, you can look into it on your own. Chapter 115, treason, sedition, and subversive activities. Okay, so treason, this is how the so-called white man identifies treason. All right. And treason and sedition pretty much go hand in hand. Whoever owing allegiance to the United States levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death. So if you're against the government and you exhort other leadership, the kingdom of heaven, you don't acknowledge this system, if you are, according to the so-called white man's own uscode.house.gov, a man that's guilty of treason, it says he's going to suffer death. Right? As it reads, or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years and fined under this title, but not less than 10,000, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. Right? So you got treason. Here's another one. Rebellion or insurrection. So if you want to know what's coming, these are the things that's coming to the servant of the Lord. Treason. These are actual crimes under the United States government. Treason, sedition, rebellion, insurrection. Okay, so here's insurrection. Let's deal with this one. Whosoever, I know that the print may be small, but I'm going to still read it out loud, right? Whosoever entices, sets on foot, assists, or engages in any rebellion or insurrection against the authority of the United States or the laws thereof, or gives aid or comfort thereto, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 10 years or both, and shall be incapable of holding any office under the United States. Right? So you have rebellion, insurrection. They ultimately deal with imprisonment, man. Now, treason is death. Right? Insurrection is another charge they're going to try to get us with. Sedition, conspiracy. Let's deal with this one. I mean, this is a beautiful site right here, man. I want to read. I want to, actually read. In due time, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I'm gonna read the rest of this. But I want to go back up, and I want to read one more point. Okay, here's seditious conspiracy. So remember in the book of Acts, the 24th chapter, like we always go into, the Apostle Paul, he was charged as a mover of sedition. This was in the Roman Empire, right? In the Roman Empire. America's nothing but Rome all over again. And we're going to show you that again, right? So let's pull this up. What I had, bear with me. I want to go back to where I was. Salakia. All right, I just had it. I wonder if I close. Oh, here it is. Salakia. All right, so seditious conspiracy. All right, Salakia for that. It reads, if two or more persons in any state or territory or in any place subject to the jurisdiction of the United States conspire to overthrow, put down, or to destroy by force. And anytime you teach that this place is going to be destroyed, that's technically sedition. If you teach America is going to be destroyed by another force outside of the American government or in general, that's grounds for charging you with sedition. Saying missiles are going to hit this place and destroy New York, DC, LA, that can charge you with sedition for that, man. Threatening the government. But guess what? You're reading the Bible. I thought America said, in God we trust. But the Bible speaks about the downfall of this place. This is a filthy, nasty, hypocritical so-called kingdom, huh? Because the same book that they allegedly swear in on to set up their global leaders and the leader of the free world is the same book that they're going to demonize, criminalize, and eventually shut down, like they did during the time of the Maccabees. So if you conspire to overthrow, put down, or to destroy by force the government of the United States or levy war against them, you might say we're raising up the army of God. You might say that we are the servants of the Most High God. We are the warriors of the Lord, right? You may go to Ezekiel 37 and say we're an exceeding great army. They might say there's only one army, and that's the army of the United States. There's only, what do you mean this Ezekiel 37:10, an exceeding great army? You know, when you go to the book of Exodus, the first chapter, the Egyptians, they said we got to shut them down lest they multiply and fight against our and fight with our enemies against us, man. So they feared the threat of a physical army, right? When you read the book of Exodus, the first chapter, let me get that. All right, let's go to the book of Exodus, the first chapter. Then I want to go to Acts 24, where I still got a lot I want to get into. Right? This is the book of Exodus, chapter 1 and verse 10. It reads, I'm going to start at 9. And he said unto his people, this is what Pharaoh said, behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. So these nations know. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply and it come to pass, that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us, and so get them up out of the land. So they feared physical altercations and conflict as we began to multiply. The so-called white man, he understands that the Israelites aren't a physical, we're not the Most High didn't set us up to commit physical acts of violence in the land, in America. They know that, but that's the narrative that they want to paint. That's what the Egyptians actually thought, and that's the narrative that these modern-day Egyptians are going to push. We're becoming more aggressive, violent attacks, threats, all of these different aggravative slanders to have a reason really to shut the ministry down, you know? So it says conspire to overthrow, put down. So if you go into the book of Isaiah 14th chapter, Revelation the 18th chapter, Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51, and many other precepts, if you read that publicly, they can charge you with sedition, right? Now you can say, well, after freedom of speech, or they're going to say, look, well, look, at this point, look, you can only say this. They just passed the, I have to go into this law they passed, I have to find it, right? But it says, or to levy war against them, or to oppose by force the authority thereof, or by force to prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law of the United States, right? Or by force to seize, take, or possess any property of the United States contrary to the authority thereof, they shall each be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years or both. So that's seditious conspiracy. You have seditious conspiracy, rebellion or insurrection, and treason, right? These are the main three crimes that they're going to charge the men of the Lord with. Like I said, or the Bible says they charged the Apostle Paul with that. And all Paul was doing was teaching the word of God. Now I'm going to jump down to what Paul said. This Acts 24 and verse 12. Right, so Paul is defending himself on trial. And here's what he said. And they neither found me in the temple disputing with any man, neither raising up the people. Meaning you never saw me commit an act of sedition. When did we try to entice people to rebel against the government? When did I raise up people to overthrow Rome? When does this happen, man? He said they never saw us doing that. They have not, and I can't name not one Israelite congregation that stirs up rebellion by force physically against this system. Not one. despite the difference of doctrine or the tantamount BS that sometimes perverts us as a nation, you still can't find not an account of that, man. Because we're here to what? Wake up the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man, strictly to teach the word of the Most High. When the Most High puts it in our spirit to cut these nations down in due time, then that's going to be so. But as of now, we're not raising up the people physically, right? He said, you saw me neither raising up the people, neither in the synagogue nor in the city. Neither what? Neither can they prove the things whereof they now accuse me. So they can't prove, like that man said, that outside of his house on a Shabbat, they'll be getting more aggressive and more aggressive. You can't prove these things, man. And the so-called white man's idea of aggression is so hypocritical and effeminate when it comes to the Israelite man, it's damn near worthless, man. Like I said, we can grow our beard out and be, now they would make you think that you're being aggressive. You could raise your voice. You could take one step forward, and now they got their hands up. You know, don't hit me, man. So to hell with Esau's slanderous words, man. Let me pull this back up. So they said he saw them getting increasingly more violent. Let's see which time I got. All right, bear with me. Let me pull this up. Okay, let's see where we at. Terrifying, right? Or quote unquote terrifying, commented Eli Shiva Rishon, a Black and Jewish fashion designer. What? This is madness. Who blames Hebrew Israelites for inflaming tensions between the two communities to which she belongs. That's confusion and wind and madness, right? A few Twitter users compared the march to the 2017 far-right rally in Charlottesville, at which participants chanted, "Jews will not replace us." Like I said, I'm not going to read this this whole thing because they try to get the numbers and you can't really number them. And this is a good article, right? You read this article and I say it's good because it shows that prophecy is being fulfilled, right? It shows that prophecy is being fulfilled. It shows that the word of the Most High is going out, and it shows us really what time we're at, man. Now, we're going to show you again historically what happened, right? Let's go to the book of Acts chapter 18, right? In order to know the future, prophetically, you got to see what happened in time past. So here's the book of Acts chapter 18, right? Here's one of the Roman emperors, Acts chapter 18:1. After these things, Paul departed from Athens and came to Corinth and found a certain Jew named Aquila, born in Pontus, lately come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome and came unto them. So you had this Jew, this brother named Aquila. He was born in Pontus. Pontus is in modern day Turkey, Asia Minor. We had a lot of Israelites in Pontus and Bithynia, Cappadocia, Galatia, all out in Asia Minor, those different provinces. But here's the point I want. Not the fact that he was born in Pontus and came from Italy, but the fact that why did this man come from Italy with his wife? It tells you. It says because that Claudius had commanded all Jews to depart from Rome and came unto them. Why did Claudius command all the Jews to depart from Rome? What was going on in Rome? Well, guess what, man? The same thing that's going on in Babylon the Great right now was going on in Rome in that time. And they exiled and banished all of the Jews. Some got imprisoned. Some got, taken to different places on the earth. Some were put in slavery. Claudius commanded all the Jews to leave the Roman Empire, right? Or leave that city of Rome, rather, in Italy. Now, Here's this article. There's an article called, I believe, the Letter of Alexandria, and I'm gonna pull it up, Lord willing. So here's Claudius' expulsion of Jews from Rome. It reads, the references to an expulsion of Jews from Rome by Roman Emperor Claudius. So Claudius may be back on the earth, or Nero, or Domitian, or Titus, or Vespasian, one of those men, right? Or Tiberius. References to an expulsion of Jews from Rome by the Roman Emperor Claudius, who was in office from 41 AD to 54 AD. Right? I believe he was the fourth emperor, right? You had Julius Caesar, right? Who was a dictator, but, you know, an emperor nevertheless. You had Octavian, you had Tiberius, you had Caligula, then you had Claudius, right? So he was one of those top first Roman emperors. It reads, who was in office from 41 AD to 54 AD, appears in the Acts of the Apostles. And we just read that precept. And it's like in the writings of Roman historians, Suetonius and Cassius Dio. These are top Roman historians. And they spoke about this, the Jews being kicked out of Rome. And 5th century Christian author Paulus Orosius. Scholars generally agree that these references refer to the same incident. The exact date is uncertain. The maximum time window for the expulsion of Jews from Rome is from January 41 AD until January 53 AD. 12 years, right? Moreover, detailed estimates such as those based on the 49 AD of Orosius or the reduction of the AD 53 upper limit due to Proconsul Gallius' health are possible but controversial. So I want to get to the point. Let's see. I want to actually get into the article and show you what happened about the tensions that was rising between a so-called white man and the Jews at that time. Okay, so here's this article, right? From Bible Odyssey, dealing with the Jews in Rome. Why did Claudius prohibit the Roman Jews from meeting in synagogues? Right? And essentially, it's like your camps, right? No more camps, no more Israelite schools, no more congregations, no more fellowshipping, no more groups of Black Hebrew Israelites together. Claudius did the same thing, right? All of the Jews weren't allowed to gather together, you know? It reads, we know from the ancient Roman historian Cassius Dio that the Roman Emperor Claudius ordered the Jews not to hold meetings in Rome around 41 CE. Common era, right? And yet Cassius does not explicitly reveal why Claudius would prohibit the Roman Jews from meeting in synagogues. If we look at Claudius' letter to Alexandria, which we have pulled up, we see that he explicitly warns the Jews not to engage in certain activities. What do you think is coming on the earth right now? What do you think the Israelites have in store for them? What the so-called white man calls the Black violent Hebrew Israelite movement. It's going to go from articles like this of people being worried, anxious, how many are there, to actual force, you know, and action being implemented in order to stop this word from going out at the rapid fire rate it has been recently. So in time past, what did they do? They stopped us from gathering together. That's how they initially did it. Before the imprisonments, before the beheading, men like Claudius not only banished the Jews from Rome, because you had a lot of Israelites in Rome. You have an entire epistle called Romans, you know, and that was to prohibit the word from going out at the rapid rate. So they're going to try to shut the marches that IUIC does. They're going to find false legislation to shut it down. You cannot gather together in the name of so-and-so, right? Camps that are out there, whether you're in New York, whether you're in LA, rather in Seattle, Baltimore, Detroit, Chicago, Miami, Houston, London, wherever you are, man. Right? They're going to try to shut this down. That spirit of Claudius, right? Salakia. That spirit of Claudius is going to come back on the earth. All right, let me pull this back up. Right, we see that he explicitly warns the Jews not to engage in certain activities, which, if carried out, would entice his wrath upon them. For example, he warns them, and you can read this letter on your own, the letter to Alexandria, and see the epistle that Claudius wrote about the details of what the Jews were doing in Rome. Right? It reads, for example, he warns not to agitate for more privileges than they formerly possessed, and not in the future to send out a separate embassy, and not to bring or admit Jews who come down the river from Egypt or from Syria, or else he will by all means take vengeance on them as fermenters, which is a general plague infecting the whole world. That's the same thing you read about in addition to Esther, chapter 13. So you had a lot of strife going on with the Jews, man. Right? It reads, I'm not going to read this whole thing. So here's what Suetonius wrote. It reads, since the Jews constantly made disturbances at the instigation of Christus, which is Christ. So they were out there talking about Christ, man. Since they were teaching in synagogues and learning about Christ in Rome, what did they do? They shut it down. All of the assemblies, all of the gathering together, the marching, the camps, the different places where brothers gather together, they shut it all down. They said, you're making too much disturbances. You're worrying us. You're scaring the Amalekite man in Manhattan and Brooklyn and LA and Baltimore, Chicago. You're scaring the Amalekites out there. Too much disturbances. Shut it down. Not that it's a disturbance, but the word of the Most High is prevailing, man. It's prevailing mightily in the last days. Right? Let me get this quick precept from the book of Matthew. Right? Let's go to the book of Matthew, chapter 10. Right? And deal with it. Right? St. Matthew, chapter 10. And that's similar to what the Apostle Paul had to deal with. Right? St. Matthew, chapter 10. And verse 24. The disciple is not above his master, nor the servant above his Lord. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master, and the servant as his Lord. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household? Meaning, if they called Yahushua the devil, that's what Beelzebub means. Just another title for the devil, Lord of the Flies, right? Baal, right? Now, they called him that. That means they're going to call them of his household. We are of the household of Hamashiach Yahushua. Yahushua has builded this house, the nation, this ministry. And if they ridiculed and mocked and called Yahushua the devil, he perverted the nation, a blasphemer, he made himself king, they're going to charge us with these same things. This is the reality of the times you're living in. That's why we go through these accounts and we read these scriptures to understand what Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua is going to have in store for us. And we prepare ourselves, not that you can prepare yourself to every detail, but you prepare yourself by fasting, by praying, by praying for more faith, because you're going to need faith more than ever in those days. The spirit of hope. You're going to need that spirit more than ever when you're a pilgrim on the earth, right? When you're persecuted, when you're fleeing from city to city, you're going to need faith. You're going to need hope, right? And now it's time to be stocking up those good works, man, in the eyes of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua, right? That's what it's time for. Right, let me pull this back up where I left off. Salakia. Okay, so it says, since the Jews constantly made disturbances at the instigation of Christus or Crustus, they expelled them from Rome. Right, now they say scholars kind of didn't agree about it, but that's what it was. Right, it reads, if the expulsion of Jews from Rome was if the expulsion of Jews from Rome was indeed a result of Christian disturbances, the question remains, was the synagogue ban also a result of conflict surrounding Jesus, right? We know his name Yahushua, within Jewish circles. You see that? So they was beefing, and we got kicked out because it was too much tumult when it came to the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. When it came to Christ, who the world calls Jesus, we were out there in Rome doing so much work. They said there's too much going on. Too many disturbances. They're worrying the people. Let's shut the whole thing down. And that's what's coming on the earth now, man. Right? The Lord said the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same. Right? Let me get that in 2nd Ezra, the 16th chapter. Right? This is 2nd Ezra, chapter 16. I'm going to read where I left off. Or read, I believe I went 75. Right? 2nd Ezra, chapter 16 and 74, Salakia. Boy, this whole chapter is good, man. I'm gonna start at 70. I'm gonna start at 68. 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and 68. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. So if you want to know the details about how it's going to heat up, it's right here. There's a burning wrath kindled over us. We read that Haman was in what? Was in great wrath. Let me pull that back up. That Mordecai bowed not. In Esther the 3rd chapter, we clearly read that the Amalekite man, he's full of wrath right now. You repenting, keeping the commandments, and serving God in righteousness brings about great wrath. I mean, it's plain. It's telling you that in the Bible. Esther 3 and 5. And when Haman, Salakia, saw that Mordecai bowed not, nor did him reverence, then was Haman full of wrath. So this wrath is going to turn violent. It's going to turn violent. Right? Let's pull that up in 2nd Ezra. For behold, the burning wrath. That's that same wrath from the Amalekite man who's going to persecute the Hebrew Israelites. Did not Haman persecute the Jews in the book of Esther and cast lot month by month by month to get a date and a time on when he was going to destroy all of the Jews? And he's an Amalekite. That same spirit is on the earth right now. For behold, the burning wrath of a great multitude is kindled over you, and they shall take away certain of you. Why? Because we read about treason. We read about conspiracy, insurrection, all of these so-called legal terms. Well, they have the right to imprison you. So they're going to take away certain of you and feed you, being idle with things offered unto idols. What does that mean? They're going to be held against your will to be a partaker of their wicked sacrifices and devices. That's what it means, being idle. Idle meaning you're constrained against your will. Doesn't mean idle, you're just sitting up trying to figure out what to do because you're bored. That's not what this word idle is going into. Right? When you look this word up, let's pull it up. Right? See, now they say a person not working, lazy, but that's just one definition. Let's see. Inactive, right? Lethargic. Basically, you're not going to be able to move. That's what it means. It's not just going to say they're going to make you idle, meaning make you lazy, right? Meaning you're not going to be able to move. Look, vegetate, be inactive, do nothing. That's what it's going into. right? Stagnant. What else? Other synonyms we got? Occupy. All right, so when the Lord said in second Esdras about being idle, he's talking about you're going to be inactive, vegetative, not be able to do anything, right? Sitting still, because that's what people do when they're idle. When you go to like a bank or a grocery store, you may see a sign that says no idling, right? If you're idling, you got to pay $2,000, right? Idling meaning you're standing still, right? You're not moving. You're just sitting up there, taking up space. That's what the word idling means. So when the Most High said they're going to feed you being idle, it means against your will. You're not going to be able to move. Whether they got you handcuffed or whatever the case may be. But just know when you are idle, they're going to feed you with things offered unto idols. That's in the Bible. Same thing in the book of Maccabees. Read First Maccabees, the 1st chapter. Second Maccabees, the 6th chapter. Right? And read the entire book of Maccabees. I mean, why not? The Feast of Dedication is coming up anyway. December 17th at sundown. Right? So you're going to be forced to sin, man, essentially. Now, rather the so-called white man presents an offer to you, say, look, all you have to do is deny Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushua. Right? Deny this truth. Eat this. Do this. Take this. Bow down to this. You can't bow down to this, man. That's what the Most High said. And they that consent unto them. So if you consent and get down and eat the things offered unto idols and partake of the so-called white man's transgression, you're going to be had in derision and reproach and trodden underfoot. So the Most High is going to destroy you, man. You cannot consent. Be like Mordecai. Right? Be like Yahweh Shai, man. Be like the apostles. Be like your forefathers. Daniel didn't consent until what the king told him to do, man. For those wicked men who stirred up the king. Where's the account of Hananiah, Azariah, and Mishael, who you know as the 3 holy children, consenting unto Nebuchadnezzar? They said, "O King Nebuchadnezzar, we are not careful to answer thee in this matter. We will not bow down or serve your image." They told him straight up. They didn't have to think about it, man. They told him straight up, hey, look, this is what it is, man. And you're going to have that same boldness. Now, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, he also said, meddle not in your heart what ye shall say, man. For it should be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak. You get that in Matthew the 10th chapter, right? So when you're delivered up, now every brother may not be delivered up. Some brothers, they may be pilgrims on the earth. Other brothers, you may be imprisoned. You may not know, right? You don't know until it happened, right? This is the book of Matthew chapter 10 and verse 19. But when, right, not if, but when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what it shall speak. For it shall be given you in that same hour what it shall speak. Because again, it's going to go from just them worried about us to them banishing men that teach on the highways and byways, removing the scriptures from us. No assembly of the Hebrew Israelites. Then rather they do a false flag and say we did some type of lewd, violent act, and they just ban the entire ministry, man. You know, which is really going to lead to the famine of the word anyway. But the point is, you don't have to sit there and think about what you're going to say. You don't have to write a speech out or memorize it. The Most High is going to put it in your mouth with the speak. He did that for the Apostle Paul. Anytime you read the book of Acts and Paul was delivered up, or Peter and John were delivered up, or the apostles, even Yahweh Shai, the Most High put that word in their mouth to speak that against Pontius Pilate, to speak that against Felix, to speak that against Herod, to speak those things against Caesar. Right? So you bank on Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. For it says, for it is not ye that speak, but the spirit of your Father, which speaketh in you. Right? And the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, And the father, the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents and cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth to the end shall be saved. And we see this being manifest right now, right? We're worrying the Jews. We're a black identity extremist according to them, right? We're a hate group, a cult, terrorists, all types of madness. So we're being hated of all men. Eventually, they're going to recognize you at your job. And look, you're one of them Hebrew Israelites. This is why you don't work Saturday. They're going to start putting up all of the details. This is how you know you have a Hebrew Israelite among you. He keeps the Sabbath. He wears fringes, right? And they're going to start putting that details out there in the media, and everybody's going to know who you are. So you can't hide, man. You can't hide, man. You got to stand boldly for Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua. Ain't no hiding around. Well, I don't want nobody to know. I'm going to just play my role in the back. The Most High is going to destroy you. If your mentality is to play your role in the back, right, and hide out, you got to be bold in this thing. You know, you got to be bold in your faith in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, man. The Most High said, if you deny me before men, he's going to deny you before the Father and the angels. So what the hell, what are you doing denying the Most High before men? They're men. Yahweh Shah is going to deny you before his Father and the holy angels. That's the last thing you want, man. The Most High, Yahweh Shah up there saying, look, we don't need him. That's what's happening. Look, not this guy. He's not going to make it. I'm going to kill him right there. He just denied me in front of his mother, in front of the media, in front of the teleprompter, in front of his cousin, in front of his supervisor, in front of Esau. He has denied me. Let's get that in Matthew real quick, chapter 16. And the Lord is going to deny you, man. That's why I said it's important, man, because it's easy to say what you want to do in that day. Even Peter said, though all men deny thee, yet will I not deny thee. And guess what happened when Yahweh Shai got delivered up? All the apostles fled. All of them fled. Then you go into it, John and Peter were still kind of around, but they fled, man. They fled from the Lord. And they were the apostles, and they walked with Yahweh Shai. So it's easy, and even Peter denied Yahweh Shai. It's easy to say what you're going to do in that day, right? You got to pray for mercy, that the Most High account you worthy to escape all the things that shall come to pass and stand before the Son of Man. That's Luke 21:35 on down, you know? And pray for faith, man, that the Most High gives you faith to be bold, like Mordecai, bold like the apostles, bold like Peter, bold like John. Joseph of Arimathea was bold. See, damn near kicked the door down, saying, give me the body of Yahweh Shai, man. Now, he wasn't always bold. He feared men. That's John 12:42. It says they love the praise of men. Let me get that real quick. Then I'm going to get that. More than the praise of God. Let's get that in John. And you don't want to be in that spirit. And the Most High had mercy on Joseph to have a bold spirit to beg for the body of our Lord. Right? And the Most High gave him that spirit because he had the means to do so. John 12:42. Nevertheless, among the chief rulers, also many believed on him, but because of the Pharisees, they did not confess him, lest they should be put out of the synagogue. And a lot of men don't want to get put out their position, put out their job, put out your celebrity status, put out your mansion, put out your athlete, put out your damn accolades, your endorsements. You don't want to get put out. You love men more than you love God, which is idolatry, a sin worthy of death. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Right? And the Most High condemns that. For they love the praise of men more than the praise of God. You want to have a bold spirit in that day. The hell with man. And the Lord said, neither shall their riches nor their gold deliver them. For the Lord shall make even a speedy riddance of them that dwell in the land, paraphrasing Zephaniah 1:18. Riches profit not in the day of wrath. Proverbs 11:4. Right? So the Most High, you know, you want to have a bold spirit. Rather you have little or rather you have much. Now, like I said, Joseph had a bold spirit when it was time, right? The Most High had mercy on him to have that bold spirit, right? Just like Daniel, just like Mordecai, Hananiah, Azariah, Mishael, you know? Let's go back. Even Peter waxed bold and John waxed bold. And they thought they were unlearned and ignorant men in Acts, the 4th chapter. Let's go to Matthew, the 16th chapter. Right, I'm going to get a few more. I'm going to wind down. Right? St. Matthew, chapter 16 and verse 24. It reads, Then said Yahushua unto his disciples, If any man will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. So you got to bear the burdens of this truth ultimately until death. Like they say in this title, discipleship is costly. This is not going to be easy. It's not for the faint of heart. It's easy now because, you know, you're behind the keyboard. You may be watching the live, you know, got your fridges on, you know, you're chilling, you relax. But it's not easy. It may not be easy, should I say, when that fire turn up and you're on the run and you're away from your family and you're by yourself. You may be by yourself. You got to be strong by yourself because Yahushua is with you. You can't just be strong around brothers and strong around sisters or strong around your husband or strong around your wife. You got to be strong in Yahushua even when you by yourself, man. You know, the Yahushua told the Apostle Paul in Acts the 18th chapter, verse 9, be not afraid, but hold not thy peace. You know, for I have much people with me in the city. When Paul was alone, the Lord told him, be not afraid. Sometimes you get separated, man. You may get separated. That may be temporarily, it may be until the Lord come back. But you better take up your cross, and nothing should stop you from following Yahushua. All right, no money, no man, no woman, no job, no relationship, no doctrine. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. So you can't hold on to your old life in the old world and the man that you wanted to be. You got to be the man the Most High called you to be and lose everything for Yahushua, man. These are the days of trouble that the Most High speaks of in 2nd Ezra, right? 2nd Ezra chapter 16 and verse 70. For there should be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. So Esau, he's going to have an insurrection, which means he's going to try to overthrow the government of Yahushua. They shall be like mad men, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. Right? So no mercy, no arrest, just straight slaughter. Now, some men are going to be in prison, but it's not going to be, well, you know, Esau let you go free. Them horns are going to show, and they're going to be sharpest at this point. For they shall waste and take away their goods and cast them out of their houses. So all of your goods you saved up, your money, maybe your weapons, clothes, materialistic things, watches and fancy TVs, they're going to take all that away from you, man, and cast you out your house. That happened to Tobit. Once you go through that, the Most High said what? Then shall there be known who are my chosen. Nobody's chosen right now. No matter what you see going on in the nation of Israel, nobody's chosen until you go through the fire. And not just any fire, that blue fire. Because like we always say, it's different levels to fire. Look at a flame. The blue fire is the hottest fire. Then it's kind of green. Then it's dark red. Then it get orange. And then it's yellow. Right? It's different levels of a flame. And when you pass through that depth, hot fire, the Most High said, that's him right there. That's my servant. That's my son. Bring him into the joy of our Lord. Bring him into the kingdom. Oh, that man folded? Nah, I can't use him. Right? Oh, that sister folded? No, I can't use him. Right? Oh, that brother denied me before men to save money? That brother denied me to keep his family, his worldly family? That man denied me for this? I can't use him. The Most High said, once you go through that final persecution, the final test, Jacob's trouble, being a pilgrim on the earth, persecuted, in prison. Then, not now, then. So all this other stuff don't matter, man. All of the, it all don't matter realistically, man. The congregations, men, garments, money, your house, all this don't matter until you go through that fire. Then the Most High is going to say, that's my chosen. And that's the mind, that's the reality of prophecy and what's coming to the servant of the Lord, man. You're going to be tried like gold in the fire. The Lord said, "Hear, O ye my beloved, said the Lord, behold, the days of trouble are at hand, but I will deliver you from the same." So you want to know what you're getting yourself into, man. It's not all about just having fun and looking good and, just vanity, man. It's not about vanity. It's about Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai having mercy upon you, man, and praying for faith and hope that you may endeavor the troublous times that are coming on the earth, that are inevitable, man. We don't do lives like this to hear ourselves talk because it sounds good or this is the real deal. We have to come out here and say it, man. The Apostle Paul said, look, I have cleared my hands from the blood of all men, paraphrasing. Right? I have not shunned to declare to you all the counsel of God. So we have to tell you everything of the Bible. We have to keep it 1,000 with you outside of anything, man. Outside of man, outside of vanity. This is the pure, raw, unadulterated truth. That trouble is coming to the servants of God, but the Most High will deliver you from the same. But you have to believe that. The Lord said, "Woe unto him that believeth not, for he shall not be defended." Sirach, the 2nd chapter, 11 on down. You have to believe that the Most High is going to be with you in those days, man. The Most High delivered Daniel. He stopped the mouth of the lions, cooled the flame of the furnace, delivered Mordecai and exalted Mordecai. He had Haman dress Mordecai in royal apparel, man. These are the wonderful works of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, man. Right? Be ye not afraid, because this is not to scare you. I'm scared. I don't know. I'm kind of quiet. No, the Lord said, be not afraid. Neither doubt, for the Most High is your guide. He's your guide. He's going to lead you in those days. You have to believe this, man. Pray for more faith, man. Pray for mercy, hope. Build up your works, man. Make sure you're keeping the commandments, because that's who it tells you who he's going to guide. Because he's selective on who he's going to guide. He's not just going to guide anybody that know that they're an Israelite. He's going to guide who? And the guide of them who keep my commandments and precepts, said the Lord God. Let not your sins weigh you down, and let not your iniquities lift up themselves. So you have to keep the commandments, the precepts, meaning the other ordinances, the other scriptures. And don't let your sins weigh you down, right? A lot of times brothers let their sins weigh them down, right? You may have went off and, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm so wicked. The Most High will never be dealing with me. I know I ain't going to make it in those days. I just did this and I did. Brother, no, lift your head up, brother. Don't let your sins weigh you down. That's why we have repentance. That's why we have grace. You have been given the opportunity to turn back to the living God, man. So you got to put aside that weak nature. And you can't let your iniquities lift up themselves, man. You can't be going off and keep going off. The Lord said, woe unto them that are bound with their sins and covered with their iniquities. Like as a field is covered over with bushes, and the path thereof with thorns, that no man may travel through. It is left undressed and is cast into the fire to be consumed therewith. So this is the persecution coming to the servants of the Lord. We brought it out and dealing with the history, what happened with Claudius. You can see that same history in Nero. Nero persecuted the Christians. We've covered that. He did a false flag. Nero burnt down damn near a third part of Rome and blamed it on the Israelites and started persecuting the Israelites and torturing them. Diocletian did the same thing. And he was an Israelite, right? So these are the days of trouble, but the Most High is going to be with us in those days, man. I actually want to get that real quick. Slaki, bear with me. Let me pull this up. Dealing with Nero. All right. This is Nero persecution of the Christians. Now we know when it says Christians, when you go to the book of Acts, chapter 11, that's really talking about the Israelites who followed Christ. All right. Not your pastor. I just saw this video of this pastor. Then there's strong armed robbery on one of the church people, man. The church guy said, look, I don't want to pay you tithes. They said, you better pay. They kind of strong armed him, man. It was two pastors and a woman in there. That's not the Christian that Acts 11 is talking about, right? Acts chapter 11 and 26. And we have found him. So Paul found Barnabas, or Barnabas found Paul, rather. He brought him unto Antioch. And it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. So the disciples, Peter, Paul, John, James, Paul, Barnabas, Silas, Timothy, Silvanus, Luke, Mark, these men that labored, they were called Christians. Now, when you go to this history dealing with Nero, Nero was the 6th emperor of Rome. You had, again, Julius Caesar, you had Octavian, you had Tiberius, you had Caligula, you had Claudius, you had Nero. You had Galba, Arthur, Vitellius, Vespasian, Titus, Domitian, Nerva, etc. Nero, being a 6th emperor of Rome, 6 being a fitting number for him, he led a massive persecution. During the time of Nero is when the apostle Paul was put to death, rather fell asleep. During the time of Nero is when Peter and Andrew and a lot of the apostles were put to death. So I could be wrong, but Nero may be, by the time Jacob's trouble kick off, Nero may be back on the earth, man. You know? So here's, I'm not going to read this whole thing, but it says persecution of the early church occurred sporadically and in localized areas from the start. The first persecution of Christians organized by the Roman government, see that, was under the Emperor Nero in 64 CE, or Common Era, after the Great Fire of Rome, and took place entirely within the city of Rome. So Emperor Nero, who was a sodomite, right? Try to use the right words nowadays, man. But and he was into incest, and he was a bug out. He actually burned Rome down and blamed it on the Israelites. Let's see. Look at this. The number of Christians who lost their lives because of these persecutions is unknown. Maybe millions, right? Billions of Israelites that were put to death under Nero. Now, this was a sick individual. This is called the Neronian persecution. Let's see. Okay, check this out. Here's the Neronian persecution. According to Tacitus and later Christian tradition, Nero blamed Christians for the Great Fire of Rome. That's a false flag. When you burn your own building down or blow it up or do whatever you want to do, destroy your own property or individuals of your own nation and blame it on another class of people or an individual for your own false pretenses to galvanize the citizens in order to have a common enemy. That's a false flag, and so many words. So Nero burned Rome down, blamed it on the Israelites to stir up all of the Israelites, to stir up all of the Romans against Israel. Let's read on. And that stuff is going to happen all over again. All right. So it says, that great fire of Rome, which destroyed portions of the city and economically devastated the Roman population. Anthony A. Barrett has written that, quote unquote, major archaeological endeavors have recently produced new evidence for the fire. but can't show who started it. They know who started it. Nero started it. And the Annals of Tacitus, it reads, to get rid of the report, Nero fastened the guilt and inflicted the most exquisite tortures on a class hated for their abominations called Christians. You see that? And I encourage brothers to actually go into what happened to us, man. We were thrown in lions' dens. We were torn in part by wild beasts, wild bears and tigers and lions. We were used as human torches. In order to light the streets of Rome, they would use the Israelites wrapped up in tar and flammable material. We were lit on fire to keep the city of Rome lit at night. These are the exquisite tortures that were done to the Israelites. All right. So these are the certain things that are going to happen as we approach the last days. How worried should the so-called Jews be? They're very worried. Right? They're very worried and they're scared. They're full of wrath. They're mad. They're upset. And eventually they're going to crack down. You know, but with that, I'm going to close up, giving, of course, our honor and our glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Malak Yahushai. I'm going to get this closing precept in the book of Revelation, chapter 22 and verse 12. It reads, and behold, I come quickly, and my reward is with me to give every man according as his work shall be. So the Most High is going to give unto every man according as his work shall be. It's not a time to be slothful. It's not a time to be lukewarm. It's not a time to be half-stepping. It's not a time to be proud. It's a time to get your spirit right, build up your faith, show your faith by your works. Two quick announcements. Feast of Dedication, December 17th at sundown. Another quick announcement. The Cold Cuts channel. We have Cold Cuts Resurrected. If you go on YouTube and you type in Cold Cuts Resurrected, you should see the video. See the channel, right? We haven't put a video out yet, but subscribe to the Cold Cuts Resurrected channel. All right. You go in there and we're going to continue where we left off, dropping the cold cuts due to Esau cutting the channel down, right? The video is still going to come up. We got a lot of them saved up in a hard drive. We got them on other sites. So subscribe to the Cold Cuts Resurrected channel so we can keep this work going at a high rate. Again, we'll take questions like we always do. For those who have questions, they could call in 213-603-9096, and the PIN number is 94809-305, right? 213-603-9096 and 94809-305 is the PIN. That Kwame Yashala, Most High willing you were edified. Shalom.